because so many good foods have ginger right in them. And it's like there's nothing I can do about it. Like it's been like a
I
decade since
take
I've had a
ginger
curry.
supplements on top of everything else.
Like there's a decade since I've had a curry.
Oh
Right?
my!
Yes.
This is horrible.
Oh,
Yes.
I still can't believe so many people sat there and listened to me rant about plants.
I can believe it.
I did not realize we were live. Heh.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay, did something bad get out or
No,
okay,
no.
good, good,
I
good, good,
mean,
good, good, good.
Oh,
eh,
wait, no, if we're live and we're worried about something bad getting out, I can make stuff up.
Yeah, there you go.
I was just like, are we live yet?
Hey,
So we can.
Nutja, check your
You,
DM.
you bitch. No.
Yeah, I got a little ahead of
I can't
myself
even
there.
fake fight with any of you. It's just like, I
Oh,
don't,
I could do that. I could totally fake fight with anyone I
I'm
wanted.
not good at it. You're like, I'm not an actress. I'm not good.
Ah, yeah. Well, I mean, for my animation stuff, I often have to, you know, act at
Yeah,
least a
but
little.
you're
So,
like talented.
well,
There's a
that's
difference.
the weird thing, though,
There's
is
a
like,
difference.
well, I mean, is it a talent or a skill? Because
Yes,
that's,
yes.
yeah.
Now, I do think it's a little of each.
I was gonna say it's not one or the other.
Well,
I mean, you've got to have something
but I
to.
mean, like I remember seeing a cartoon once. There's a little comic strip where there's like this guy and he's what like in elementary school or something. He picks up a guitar and starts plinking away at it. And then you see him as a teenager and he's still doing it. And then you see him up in a rock band and one of his friends goes up and goes, "Man, I wish I was as talented as you." And it's like, yeah, you saw all the work he put into it. That's like, I mean, maybe he's talented, but you can be talented and never refine whatever the hell it is you're doing.
Aha! There
So,
you are. There it is.
yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, so what I'm saying is that it's not just like a given that you will be awesome.
Right.
My
I
and
get it. I get it.
now
Yeah.
there are some talents I do wish I had, such that I could work with them, but unfortunately, stuff I'd really like, I just ended up on the wrong end of the stick with that stuff.
Mm.
Um, I wish I had the coordination to play most musical instruments, for example. I would love to play a guitar, but unfortunately, my left hand does not want to cooperate. So, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I started learning to play guitar, but then it got like weirdly complicated where they said, okay, do this thing. And I was like, how? And I go just like this. I was like, but how do you do that? Because there was a lot of like, okay, make a certain chord and then pluck like the first string, the second string, the fourth string. And I'm like, but won't you hit three if you do that? And they're just like, no, it's just like this strum. And I'm like, how the frick did you do that? It's like a magic trick, right? So I don't know. I did get far enough that I was able to play on the guitar Scotland the Brave. But other than that, I couldn't do anything.
I didn't think that Scotland the Brave was made for guitar, but I guess it could work.
Well, okay, one of my favorite bands, actually, I think this was the Dropkick Murphys, pretty sure, did something called a Cadence to Arms, where it starts with the
What?
bagpipe version of Scotland the Brave, and then they kick into this rockin' guitar version, this like metal version of Scotland the Brave, and it is absolutely beautiful.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
Anybody in the side chat wants to hop on in, let me know and I'll see if I can accommodate you. How's that sound? Um,
Ooh.
and meanwhile, I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, so I'm going to turn my camera off for a minute. I notice it looks like you've rearranged things a little bit, Kate. Is that
No,
bookshelf in a new place?
I've just put the camera on a different spot because I've noticed that like the tripod that I usually have it on blocks the screen, and there's a lot of stuff I just can't see. So
Okay.
so now you're seeing things from a different angle. That bookcase has always been there.
Got ya. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, wow.
What's the wow?
Mhm.
I'm over by the coffee machine.
Oh, I just looked up and found a place on Facebook that's called East Texas Aquaponics, and
Ooh.
they look like they have a really nice system.
Oh my.
Their
Something
plants look really freaking good.
something that would be good for small area or small living space, gardening, that sort of thing.
They're not doing vertical though.
Oh my. Yeah, vertical would be
They're doing
fun.
horizontal, but like, yeah, they're even growing nasturtiums with them. Edible flowers with edible plants, and
I love nasturtium. Very
they're
tasty.
they're also raising ducks.
Whack, whack. Man, I wish I could do that. My
I'm pretty sure ducks can raise themselves, though they have wings.
yeah, that's true. My cousin, the one with the puppy mill, I know. Also had ducks, and at her place was the first time I ever had a duck egg omelet, and damn, was it good!
Hmm.
It almost, but not quite, made up for the 39 dogs she had.
You know, there are a lot of different sort of animal-based foods I've never had. Like I've never eaten duck that I know of. I
Oh
might
man,
I've
have
had
like a
duck
like
I
maybe
will.
a Chinese like duck something that they do. I don't know.
I would be so
But
happy to roast a duck for you.
that sounds so filthy. I have actually had rabbit though. Rabbit was good. I've had buffalo. Um, I've had gosh, what was it? Elk. I've had elk and
Oh my.
ostrich. I've had ostrich. There's actually a burger place in San Diego that has like all these different weird meats that they've made into burgers. The truth is, ostrich very unremarkable. I mean,
Oh, okay.
it's okay. It's worth eating, but it's like, yeah, it was a burger, and so I don't know.
There's a butcher down in what is known as the Strip District of Pittsburgh. It's the food area downtown. You know, you've got the garment district and you've got the food district, that sort of thing. And there's a butcher there who has the specialty meats, the bison, the emu, kangaroo. I think they have
Wow.
crocodile, all kinds of stuff like that. If I had the cash to buy some of that stuff, I would be trying it out and very likely loving most of it because
Kangaroo, huh? Well, I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure they've got kangaroo.
if I ever find myself with the option to try some kangaroo, I'll definitely wait for it, jump at the opportunity.
How did I know that was coming?
Wow, come on. I can't even imagine what kangaroo might taste like.
Neither can I.
I don't think I could eat one.
No?
No.
I do notice that there is an inverse relationship between how willing we are to eat something and how cute it is.
Yes, you noticed that, huh?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
the
like, okay, Colombia, no way, there's certain kinds of pussy I'll eat, but not Colombia. So, what? How did you not see that? Wait for it, coming. But yeah, no, I mean, I know that there's some places where they eat dog, and I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
ew. I'm definitely gonna not eat frog legs though, and they're not cute at all. Uh,
I've never
just
had
I
frog
don't.
leg. I've had escargot. I wasn't impressed.
Well, if it looks like something that might have dropped out of my nose, I'm not gonna eat it.
Okay, it
So
was
like oysters and shrimp and all that stuff. No, I'm sorry, no.
the escargot I had was rather bitter. I usually like bitter things, but this was the kind of bitter I didn't like, and it actually did taste a little bit sandy to me, which okay,
Ugh.
definitely not impressed.
You can
That
have
doesn't
my share of
sound
bitter
right
food. I do
because
not like bitter food.
Oh,
escargot is normally not bitter.
okay, so this place did it wrong.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay. So that might explain why I was unimpressed. No, I'll
Because
do.
that when you said that, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to remember where the hell it was. It might have been at one of the hotel restaurants in Cleveland when my ex-wife and I were there, touring for locations for Mensa RG in the weekend convention, and they would feed you and wine you and dine you and all this other happy stuff, and
Uh
so I got some
huh.
interesting meals out of that. I actually got an official 7-course meal at one point, which I had never had before, haven't had since. Um, oh, great, Nacho, great. It'd be great to have you. And as I say, anybody else over
Oh,
on
if
this
I was
side?
where Nacho was, I would be aquaponicking it up outdoors.
Okay. I have the exotic meat section of the Strip District Meats thing going here. We have things like smoked alligator andouille, alligator tail meat. We have Berkshire pork, tenderloin, bacon,
Check
boneless loin.
this.
Well, no, what can alligator possibly taste like?
I have to wonder if that's one of those things. You know, what is this? It's chicken. What's it taste like? It tastes like alligator.
Right.
Yeah,
Everything
you
tastes
know.
like
Well, like everything tastes like chicken except for chicken, which tastes like turkey.
Yes.
right.
And we have buffalo, camel, elk.
Hey, not to be an interrupting cow, but
Yes, dear.
look up aquaponic bamboo because they are growing plants instead of the plastic pipes. They're doing it in bamboo, and it's gorgeous.
Oh
Well, that's another
my.
thing that's good to eat, actually, bamboo. Like bamboo shoots go really well in stir fry.
Yes,
That's
they
true.
do. Yum yum yum. Can't get enough of them.
But they're making aquaponic systems out of bamboo now, and it is beautiful.
Okay, I'm looking here on the Google search page.
Just
That
Google and then hit images. Google images,
oh,
and you'll see what I'm talking
good for
about.
you. Oh my word.
Isn't
Oh
that
my word,
gorgeous?
isn't that something?
Isn't it? Isn't it
Yeah.
absolutely lovely?
I love
I
the
love that instead of the PVC pipe or whatever it's called.
the number 2 and number 3 images on that top row. The way they've got the little side pipes, if you will,
Yeah.
out of the bamboo, and you've got shit growing in there, and it reminds me, in a strange way, of the saguaro that I remember from the desert Southwest.
Right.
Oh man, I miss that neighborhood. I doubt I could ever live there full time, but I do miss it.
I think my downstairs neighbors are like cooking something vile.
Oh boy, sounds like something that might be on my menu or something like that.
I
Oh,
don't know how much my downstairs neighbors love or hate me just because of the noise I might make from stomping around a lot while playing games. Like, I knew the first time I tried it that there was no way I could play Dance Dance Revolution and not have them call the cops. Um, but
okay.
yeah, and now, I mean, even with some of the VR that I like to play, I'm sure I must stomp more than they appreciate. I don't know.
I don't know. I wouldn't complain that much. You could stomp all you
Um,
wanted. Anyway,
well,
and then we have a comfy kitty over there. Look at that.
yeah, we do. I have some interesting stories about my downstairs neighbors. Well, one interesting story, but that's perhaps for another time.
Okay.
Well, all right. I'm fairly certain at one point they invited me over for a threesome.
Okay.
Well, okay, I mean, I live in this smallish condo complex, and a bunch of us were having this party downstairs in front of but there's this weird little fountain outside. And like there was a barbecue and stuff, and everyone was chatting, get a little drunk. And then for whatever reason, we all decided, hey, let's go out to the local dyke bar. So we did. And while we're hanging out there, it was a lot of fun. I was getting ever so slightly more drunk. And then at one point, the downstairs neighbors were like, hey, we're going to go home. You want to come with us? And I was like, nah, I got my drink and I'm hanging out here. And then only after that, it occurred to me that the guy's wife was sort of dancing with me and trying to kiss me. And the whole time I was like looking over at him going, fuck, is this okay? And so when they invited me back to walk back with them, like it occurred to me an hour later, I'm like, wait a minute. They just wanted me to go with them, didn't they?
They did, yes. And I'm thinking, okay, would that have gone over all that well with you? Because, I mean, she was there, yes, but so was he.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, yeah, I would. Well, of course, I take it as a compliment, Mark. But still, it was strange. And I see them every couple of days when they're out walking their dog. And I don't know if it's awkward for them. I know it's not awkward for her. It seems a little awkward for him sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, downstairs neighbors, they don't like it when I play DDR. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't know. One thing I'll say for them, though, is no balls, no blue chips, you know?
Well, I suppose so. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure that's a Vegas thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. You don't take the chance. You don't get the high valued. You don't get the high valued game tokens. The blue chips are usually the highest valued. You know, a lot of
well, I mean, okay. I've been playing a lot of VR poker, which is a lot of fun actually. But the highest chips are, I want to say they're sort of violet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if things have changed recently or something. I mean, the saying
Well,
"no balls, no blue chips"
poker.
is very old.
It's VR poker. They could have made it up their own darn selves.
And I know a lot of people are confused because they're thinking blue chip stocks, which are not all that risky, and that's not where it comes from. Slightly different etymology going there.
Yeah.
But you know, what the hey. I don't know, what else have we got going? Faye, you're quiet.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I haven't even looked at the side chat to see what anybody has to say recently anyway, because God, I was going 13 different directions at once during the show, and Notjaw mentioned it looked like I wasn't seeing what he was saying, and he was right, because I'm looking at this, and I haven't quite figured out how to run my sound and video board myself yet. But, you know, what can I tell you?
Okay, what is that? Squircifer?
Oh, Squircifer, hi!
Says y'all need mouse. Is that comic book that you're talking about there? The one with the like the mice that were in like Nazi Germany or some shit?
Mouse is his kitty.
Oh.
He lives in Germany. I cannot remember, Squirce, if did you name the cat from that comic book? I don't think you did, but correct me if I'm wrong. I know the comic. I know the graphic novel you're talking about, Kate. God,
I've never actually read it. I saw it on the shelf with
I've read
some. Yeah, it looked really not my thing because I was way the heck too young at the time.
Okay.
And like I always saw it next to another one that I did read that disturbed the fuck out of me. If you know Barefoot Gen.
Yeah.
No, I don't know
Oh my
that
gosh,
one.
that is terrifying by the end of it. It scares the hell out of me. So yeah, it's gross. It's basically about this kid. He's living in like Hiroshima or something right before the bombs fall. And
oh my.
yeah, the ending is horrific. Don't even get me started. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I have all sorts of mixed feelings about that whole event. I know that there were a lot of people that said it saved my life, and I see where they're coming from, but I'm just wondering if it wasn't a little overkill. But then again, they're still using the medals of, they're still using the Purple Hearts that they had ordered for that invasion today. They had ordered so many of them because they thought there were going to be so many casualties. So I don't know which way you want to go with it. I really don't. I'm the one who's going to stop and listen to the two sides. And that, unfortunately, there's a problem with that because sometimes it gets in the way of being steadfast in your opinion.
I don't know. I mean, there have been so many things lately where it's like, here's the way I think about something. And then here's another way to think about it where I realize, yeah, that's just as valid. But at the same time, I like what I like. And how do I decide between the two? Can I take bits from one and bits from the other and meld them into something new? Kind of wacky stuff like that. And I don't know.
I really like the one tweet you put up, was it earlier today, of it's too bad that you can go out onto the internet and get all your questions asked. There's little room for discussion anymore. I think, was that the
so
gist of it?
Well, I was like, sometimes I want to have a conversation that starts with a question. Maybe it's like, here's an opinion kind of thing about how things might be, and then maybe we'll look up how they are. But if you ask a question like that, you don't get people's perspectives. They just Google it for you and post a link. And it's like, well, now there's no discussion, is there?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes there still is, depending upon the source of the answer you get, I suppose. My answer, I remember you replying to that when I replied to it, was, I forget what I said for the thing that could have some discussion. Oh, a question like, should certain Christmas songs be banned? Okay, you could still have a discussion about that, but as far as evolution is concerned, I think that's pretty well settled.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing.
But, I mean, gosh, I forget. I think I forget what example I gave, because I definitely did give an example. But I guess it was more about like opinions or something. I totally don't remember what I said. I don't know. I mean, I guess part of it is just that I had a really busy day today, because I was actually on, I can never pronounce his name. I don't freaking know, but I was on his podcast earlier today. And so I'm like, I don't know, swamped with stuff now.
Is that
okay. Here's my example. Sometimes it's like, what do certain bits of slang actually mean? I've been in disagreements with people about that many times.
That was your answer to me. I recognize it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I am no expert in slang by any means.
Well, I mean, one thing that I discovered that was kind of funny is that wound up does not mean the same thing here as it does in Britain. And people didn't understand me when I said it at one point.
Oh, what's it mean over there?
Well, apparently it means getting turned on.
Okay, I can see where that would come from. Yeah, okay.
But here it's just like made tense.
Yes.
It's like, I'm all wound up about this. It stinks. I'm wound up tight like a spring, but apparently that's not what it meant. And I said it about Steven Anderson, of all people.
Oops.
Or maybe it was Matt Powell. It was one of the two.
Oh,
Lord. People were like, Kate, what do you mean you're wound up? Are you serious? I thought you were a lesbian. I'm like, guys, what do you think that word means? And yeah, so.
Okay, I gotcha. Now, I will occasionally use slang in its different forms just to piss people off, but and if I'm tired, I'm all fagged out, one of those deals. Let them think about what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I always wonder about, like, how is it that a cigarette is a fag? But apparently, like, a faggot of wood was a thing. It's 1G instead of 2.
Yes.
But, yeah.
A faggot was a bundle of sticks, which is why the Italian name for a bassoon is fagotto, because it looks like a bundle of sticks.
Well, see, now I wonder how the like rather unfortunate insult word came about.
I don't know offhand. I think I looked it up many, many moons ago, and I probably forgot where that came from. Um,
I mean, maybe it has something to do with like their erection is like a stick. I don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up at some point when I've got all of my attention to give to it. One of these deals, and I don't know. Maybe I'll actually have to start a subsidiary program about word origins and shit.
Yeah, well, I
Uh,
mean, that is one of the things I love to do is look up the origins of words and find out what they mean. Like for the longest time, I was like, why is it lieutenant over in Britain? I look it up. I'm like, oh, well, because Lou is like French for left. And apparently we
uh-huh.
decided to use the French version. Okay.
Okay,
So,
fine.
yeah,
So I learned something today. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. You're so good to me.
it's this
Um,
thing I do.
no,
But no,
as
words are very interesting. I mean, I love to pun.
yes.
And,
Oh my
oh,
God, that's one of the things I like best about you. Seriously.
yeah. Well, I mean, like again, I was on if God, I wish I could pronounce that his podcast earlier today, and there was this guy whose last name was spelled Rive, but he pronounced it Reeve, and I was like, but doesn't to rive mean to like slice or to cut down or something? And he didn't know, so I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, it does, but I had to wonder, does he pronounce it differently now because he doesn't like the connotation, or was it just always pronounced that way?
Now there's something interesting. Were I to see Rive, I would think reef. But then again,
Really?
my vowel set is very German. A,
Hmm.
E, I, O, U, rather than A, E, I, O, U. It's
Well,
it's
that
weird.
that vowel set is very common. Like the English vowels are radically different from most every other language I've ever
Yes,
encountered.
yes, and it drives me nuts.
I mean, like, okay, uh, I mean, you look at some of the vowels they have in Swedish, okay, maybe that's a little different, but just about everywhere else, like you look at Japanese, it's the same as you just said for German.
Okay, yeah. Um, and I just took to it when I was learning German, um, 6 years worth in high school and college, and then there were some people with whom I could speak, which was wonderful. And unfortunately, I lost that years ago. Um, Maybe I'll have to have more conversations with Peter or something, but Peter de Tucker. But yeah, I just took to it, and it seemed so natural. These
Well,
are really great vowel sounds.
mm, well, it's funny. I've been trying to learn to speak Klingon,
Yes.
right? And
How's that
there's
coming?
that I've hit kind of a barrier, I hate to say. I think part of it is because I don't have anyone to interact with. And the way they make you learn, I mean, because they don't actually like have someone teaching you, is they'll throw a sentence at you. And you essentially have to guess what it is, except you can mouse over a word and it'll tell you, right? And then they'll put it in English and say, write this in Klingon, or they'll put it in Klingon and say, reorganize these words into what the sentence is, that kind of thing. And I've hit a certain point where, I mean, number one, not pronouns, or prefixes and suffixes are a bitch in Klingon. But also, it's just, I think I need to go back and just review everything I've done to just get it all back. And I'm not speaking it at all. I'm just looking at it being written. And so I'm
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
pronouncing everything really badly. Um, I've tried to explain to people that I have to learn by doing, by interacting.
You
Like
and
you
I
can
both.
sit me in front of theory all you like, but until I apply it, I'm not learning jack shit,
Right.
right?
I know the feeling. Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna have to like change my tactics in trying to learn this language.
I could just see something, a text, for example, conversational Klingon one,
Right.
Have
I
little,
mean, don't get me wrong. The first couple of lessons I was doing really well, but now it's gotten super freaking complicated.
yeah, definitely. how are the tenses and the modal auxiliaries? You know, like the I would have had to have gone there. You know, that sort of thing.
I don't think I've gotten to that part yet, but the tenses are almost non-existent. There's like I am and I have done are basically the same thing. Um,
Okay.
will is different, but have and am currently doing are not. They're exactly the same. There's no way to distinguish from one from the other without context.
I got, yeah, okay, so I guess it's what the guy I used to work with, Michael Jones, would call an aspectual language, I guess, rather than a tense driven language. Okay, I don't have the head for that, but I suppose I could get it were I to use a language like that on a regular basis.
Yeah, and the grammar is fucked up to where it seems like you're talking like Yoda, where it's like you will say to there I have gone, right? That kind of thing.
Okay.
Yes, like here's him to whom I'm reacting, that kind of thing. It's I don't know. It's weirdly complicated. It's weirdly backward, but a lot of languages are like that, like where the grammar is reversed from what we usually use.
Yeah, we're an SVO language, a subject, verb, object, and that's only one of many forms. Um, and it takes a little getting used to. I mean, German, for example, I can chop up a sentence, throw it in a blender, and just pull the words out, put them in order, and no matter what order they're in, the sentence actually makes sense because of
Mm.
the way the the articles, the various forms of the or an or that sort of thing, are associated with the case. There's a different form for nominative case. There's a different form for accusative or genitive case. Um, you know, like the noun case or the object case or the ownership case. And that's why I love German so much is that you can do that. You can screw up the word order all you want and still make sense. Something you
Well,
cannot do in English.
hold on though. I mean, about that, can you really do that? I mean, how do you say um like I walked to her and not have it turn into she walked to me?
That's that. That's that article case thing. Let's see. I'm trying to think of how I would say I walked to her. Well, I'll try a different one. How about the boy threw the ball?
Okay. Well, no, but see, the problem is that the ball can't throw the boy, right? I'm saying
That's
like
my point.
no,
Uh,
but my point is I walked to her, she walked to me. Is we've got two like different subjects that are basically the same sort of entity, right?
and there are
Suppose it was the boy threw the ball to me, I threw the ball to the boy.
okay.
Then we're talking about the kind of thing where I think it could get confused.
Yeah, with the she and her have very different forms. Okay, if she walks, it would be. I'm trying to remember. I'm losing most of my vocabulary, unfortunately. I can't even remember the word for. I'm actually going to need to look at Google Translate to help me along. It's been so fucking long since I've had somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I've lost most of the Japanese I learned. But I don't know. One thing I really want to do is start trying to watch like episodes of Deep Space Nine or something and see if I recognize the few times someone speaks Klingon. And actually, it's funny. What inspired me to try to do this was an episode of The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon and Leonard are talking to each other where they don't want Penny and Brain Not Work Now, Mayim Bialik's character, like they didn't want them to understand, but the two girls were talking about something that they didn't want the boys to understand, and they were doing it in this other wacky little language that was far too easy to understand. I'm sorry that it was.
Oh, the sort of thing that.
The sort of like op language, I think they call it. That one, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And so, but I was watching them speak Klingon. I was like, I wish I could understand this without the subtitles. When I found out that there was that website that would teach you, I figured, what the hell? But I mean, finding something where people are speaking Klingon and having to translate it in my head on the fly, that'll help you learn far better than any website.
Okay, we've got it here. I've got the two forms, and I'm so ashamed of myself that I actually had to look at a translational dictionary to do this. Like I say, it's been so fucking long. She walks to him would be sie geht zu ihm. Okay, sie is she, geht is actually go. Zu ihm, ihm is him. Now, to do the other way around, when he's doing the walking, he walks to her, geht zu ihr. Notice this, is he, ihr is her. You've got those different forms going. That's, you could actually rearrange that. Zu ihr geht for example. It means the same damn thing. Whereas, were you to transliterate it word for word into English, you'd have it reversed.
Yeah.
Where she was doing the walking rather than he.
And that sounds, I mean, it's not exactly the same, obviously, but it sounds like the prefixes in Klingon, where they have this whole, let me see if I can show it to you, this whole chart of, no, it's too bright. This whole chart of prefixes where it's like, okay, here's the subject, here's the object. If I am talking about, like, if I did something with like nothing, it was just I did something myself, it starts with G. But if I did something to you singular, it's ka. But then if I do something to him, her, or it, it's V. But then if I do something to you plural, it's sa. But then if it's to them, just like not all of you, just to them, it's V. And then they have that for everything. Like if it's you singular doing something to me, it's B. And it's just this whole thing where you have to attach those onto the fronts of words, and you have to memorize so damn much to make sure that you're saying, I want them to do it, not I want us to do it, and all that sort of thing. It's such a pain in the butt.
And that's the weird thing. When I was learning German, I found it so easy just to fall into it. And my problem right now is that it's been 40 years since I've been able to speak with somebody even close to full time. One of the guys I worked with at a software house back around 79 grew up speaking German at home. Here in the U.S. he grew up, but they spoke German at home. The man's name was Helmut Neubecker, so you knew he was Italian. One of these days. And we were back to back in a common cubicle, and Helmut and I would be jabbering back and forth, and the vice president would come by. Speak English, you two. I want to know if you're plotting against me. Everybody would get a chuckle out of it and everything else. I miss that crap. I really do.
Yeah.
Because he was essentially a native speaker, so. He grew up bilingual, but he spoke German natively as well as English. So there was the expert with whom to do the speaking. Unfortunately, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. One of these days I will finish learning a language enough to speak in it without like reference aids, One of these days.
One of these days.
Yes.
You've got an interesting question going there, Anna Diluvian Atheist. After watching the U.S. recently, I have to wonder, would we be worse off if the Germans had won the war? And I say that as a gay Jew. It's like, whoa, there's something to think about. You're not going to look that up on Google and find all the answers. Oh man.
I mean, in what way might it possibly have been better?
Yeah, I have to think that it would be really difficult to find a way that it would be better had the master race won the war and all that, or they thought they were anyway. Um,
Well, I mean, speaking as a multiracial lesbian, left-handed atheist, lesbian, I mean, I'm sorry, but I would be one of the first in the oven.
mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking no, but thanks for asking.
I'm
I mean,
pretty.
at least right now we kind of see it coming and want it to stop. I mean, because when, gosh, who was it? Someone just did a YouTube video. I think it was Prophet of Zod. That's who it was. It was Prophet of Zod did a video about how the Germans didn't really see Nazism coming. That like their fears were totally played on, and they basically like cried out for help from the people that were giving them the fear in the first place. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at today in the United States where it's like, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are scared of what the government is telling them is going to happen, like with all those darn Mexicans and everything. But like half the country is going, these guys are so full of shit. Don't listen to them. And so it's like we kind of see it coming. Some of us, they're trying the same old tricks, and it's not going to work.
Yeah, the one thing that we may have going for us, and I really hope we do have it going for us, is that our intelligentsia is a little greater in number than Germany's was in the late 20s, early 30s. Now, we are still shouted down quite a lot, and I know I'm presumptuous when I say we in reference to the intelligentsia, but that's another story entirely. Um, I just hope that we can have our voices heard and we can do something about this soon enough that it's not going to be a total mess, a total loss. I'm, Kate, I'm frightened.
You
I
know,
am terrified.
I mean, I
Of
am and I'm
spiders?
not. What?
Terrified of spiders?
I'm
Mm,
terrified of the MAGAs.
yeah, the future does look rather bleak. But the truth is that while
Um,
I'm scared of the effect they may have, I'm not very scared of them. Which
Oh,
is to
right,
say,
right,
like,
right.
yeah, I mean, it's the digging in their heels against progress part that worries me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the no, no, we can't possibly harm the earth ourselves. We're the perfect like result of nature, and thus anything we do will be perfectly fine for the planet because we're perfectly suited to live here. So keep digging, keep burning, all of that stuff. And it's like that whole burying your head in the sand crap that they do
Yeah.
because it'll eat into their profit margin or whatever.
There's
And it's like, what good is money if there's no world around to spend it?
they're still enjoying, if you will, the illusion that the Catholics were feeding me when I was in the Catholic school. I mean, the Penguins would teach us God made this, all of this for us to use and uh, implicitly abuse.
Mm,
And, we are the masters and lords over all of it, which,
right.
doesn't work really when you think about it. And unfortunately, these people are just doing what the Penguins were talking about back then. Um, and then
You
the
know, it's funny you mention because like I hadn't actually seen a nun in a very, very, very long time until a week or two ago when I'm walking through the supermarket and there's this one old lady in the habit walking with her cart, and I'm like, wow, it's been a while.
Yeah, since I've had contact with, well, actually, this is going to be the funniest damn thing. When I was at the Persad Center doing my gender counseling thing and everything else, my counselor was a Catholic sister,
Hmm.
which boggled my mind. I even asked her one day, "What are you doing here? Your boss hates us." To which she didn't have a good answer. But it made me really wonder, what it was all about, Alfie. It seemed like cross purposes. Well, she spent a lot of time trying to convert me, and it's like, ain't happening. Yeah, telling me to read Aquinas and all this bullshit. I already have.
Well, one thing that was kind of funny, I was getting my blood drawn, another test for the whole, head meats thing. And I have these little bracelety things on, and one of them right there, I don't know if you can see it, it says Avengers, right?
Okay.
And so the woman drawing my blood, the phlebotomist, I love saying that, was looking at it, she goes, "Oh, you like the Avengers? I love that movie." I'm like, no. Atheist Avengers.
There you go.
And she was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, so.
Well, then
I'm pretty sure that no one's going to be converting me anytime soon.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm closed-minded to it. It's just that I haven't heard a convincing argument yet, and they don't get that either.
Well, I mean, that's
I'm very
why,
closed-minded to it.
Say again.
Well,
I'm very closed-minded to it.
Okay.
Well,
Like, it just seems so ridiculous. There's no reason for me to even try.
Well, I mean,
right.
it's funny. Like, I don't want. I have to say, I don't want religion to be true. Like the things that they say to be true. If it is, I'll accept it. But I mean, well, I'll accept that it's truth. I won't accept. Yeah, but at the same time, I'd love it if there was some sort of magic that was real. I remember when I was very little, I was trying like hell to use the Force. It didn't work. But I mean, yeah, that kind of thing. But the reason, like the only bit of atheist anything that I got tattooed on me is the Zopdaz from Arn Ra, because he said that represents the concept of the word I came up with, which is apistivism.
Oh, wait a minute. You did not invent the Zopdaz. You just coined the word.
No, that was his son. His son came up with the Zopdaz.
Hey, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he was really impressed when I showed him the tattoo, right? And the whole thing about Zopdaz, if you write it in lowercase letters and then flip it and mirror it, it says Zopdaz still.
Oh, so it's the ultimate palindrome almost.
Basically, which is part of what this is meant to represent, because it's two triangles, essentially.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, but that's the only bit of anything atheist at all that I've had tattooed on me, simply because I will not take anything on faith. I won't use faith as a method of reaching conclusions, which is what apistivism means.
Yeah.
And so if it turned out that there was a way to believe in a God without faith, I go, well, you got a point there. I'm still going to look for the magic ring or flaming sword that can kill the fucker, but I will accept his reality now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Accept but refuse to worship and do everything you can to oppose.
Yeah, but that proof has to be there. It has to be enough that you could blind test it in a lab.
And unfortunately, everybody I run into regards the claim as the proof. The question I'll ask.
Plenty of atheists who sit there and say, "Well, I wish the religion I was taught when I was growing up was true, but it's not. So if someone could prove it, I would go back to religion." There's plenty of atheists who say things like that, and every time they do, I just want to bang my head into a desk.
Well, I mean, I was never religious to begin with, so...
Nor was I.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm the only one here who had a religious past. I guess.
Yeah, you're the apostate.
Yeah.
Although my relationship to religion when I was little was weird, and I know I've told this story before. I don't know if I've told you. No? Okay. Well, culturally speaking, my mom's side of the family is Jewish. We lit a menorah, went to a bar and bat mitzvah, we got presents. That was it, really. Okay. I mean, I attended one or two seders, but let's face it, it was Jewish Thanksgiving. That's all it was. It was a big meal.
Yeah.
Like there was no worship or anything. It was, like I say, culturally Jewish. My dad, on the other hand, was raised by Italian Catholics, Sicilian Catholics. And before they adopted me, he was like, oh, screw this shit, and tried every religion under the sun when I was a child. right? Which is probably part of why I'm an atheist, is because I saw so many and saw how silly they were, right? And so that helped me be an atheist, was seeing so much religion, but I was never made to participate. Like my dad was on his own journey, and my mom and me, we had every choice to go with him or not, and he didn't care, right? So
Nice.
it was when I started being an outspoken atheist that my dad went, yeah, okay, right? So I converted my dad. How cool is that?
Yeah, nice. Wish I could have done something like that. Unfortunately, that didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what that sound is. I hope
It was me speaking.
not that sound. I'm
Mhm.
hoping it was Sylvia digging through the cat box. That would be a lot better than. Oh, I see. I see. I see. I see. It's Sylvia playing around in the bathtub. Okay. When I hear strange sounds that slightly resemble the ceiling caving in, I get a little worried.
Well, I've never heard that sound from a cat doing anything, but okay.
I guess I guess filtering through these on the ear headphones kind of does things to the sounds there. Because
Mm.
I've had a ceiling or two nearly cave in on me, and that was all kinds of fun.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sounds bad.
my upstairs neighbor had a leak in her bathtub drain, and that was doing all sorts of wonderful things to my kitchen ceiling.
Oh gosh, what was that? There was like a movie I saw a while back, and I know I've seen it more than once, where a bathtub fell straight through the ceiling in someone's home. But like
I've
there was this
I've heard
whole,
I've heard of that. My friend had that happen to her. She was taking a shower and she fell through the floor.
Oh
well,
my!
but I mean, this was done for comedic effect in the movie, where someone was like, "By the way, did we ever turn off the bathtub? Shabam! Straight through the ceiling." I'm trying to remember what that movie was. Ah,
I
oh
don't
well.
know.
Oh,
But
I
it happened to
see.
my friend and she broke her leg.
Oh
Eh,
man. I guess this is gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna say I guess it's a good thing that that was all that she broke.
yeah.
Because I can imagine some horrible things happening, falling through the ceiling into the floor below.
Well, I mean, okay, I've never had a break like a leg, but I
Oh,
have broken a bone, and it's very unpleasant.
yes, it is.
I
Um,
I broke my
yeah,
toe.
yeah.
I broke an
Yeah.
ankle roller skating.
I,
Uh,
I broke my wrist using one of those hoverboard things, right?
oh yeah,
But the
and
thing
this
is,
is this
I,
is why you're
I didn't,
wearing the brace and shit. Yeah.
no, 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 no. I wear this just to prevent carpal tunnel.
Oh,
Um, yeah. But no, I mean, what happened was I landed like that. And I went to the doctor and they took x-rays and they did not find any breaks. But then I went back later and they're like, yeah, you know what? That's broken in like 2 or 3 places. And I was like, should I have it
oops.
on in a cast? They're like, well, not anymore, but it's going to be weak. And it is. I cannot put much pressure on it without it starting to ache. So,
Okay,
Now,
I
I've been
gotcha.
asked by people not to describe my foot injury again.
oh, I assumed you stubbed it or dropped something on it, but I didn't need details.
It um it doesn't work right anymore.
Oh, okay.
Is
I'm trying to picture how much a toe doesn't work. I mean, because granted, we don't really grip with our toes much anymore.
Yeah, is that the one you ripped off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, oh, I have not heard this story.
Yeah, I snapped my toe and little toe bone and yeah, that was
What, you
terrible.
just yanked it out of you? What?
Not on purpose.
Well,
It
still.
was a misstep gone horribly wrong on a set of stairs.
But I mean,
It
well,
just
okay.
every time I
Did
hear
it
it,
did
it's
it did it come off as part of the injury, or did the doctor say, "Yeah, we gotta amputate this shit"?
Uh it was ripped as part of the injury, and the doctor insisted on putting it back on.
I see.
And
Okay.
it was my big toe, and that's part of the balancing.
I was going to say he probably wanted that on for balance.
I was picturing pinky toe. Holy crap. Okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
And they kept asking me, "How did you do this?"
Well, now I'm curious.
I still don't know.
Okay.
Now, the mechanics of it must have been whoa. But well, what are you going to do? I suppose it's.
I'll blame all those years I spent on point ballerina shoes and the fact that
Yeah.
I was barefoot coming down the stairs,
See,
landed wrong.
my mom used to do ballet, and I've looked at her feet, and they are so fucked up. There's these calluses in weird places and really strange shapes. Like her pinky toes look like they have a blade of cartilage on them.
Yeah,
It's really bizarre.
yeah, my feet are all screwed up.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen the appeal of ballet personally myself. It looks so strange. Well, I mean, it's kind of like watching figure skaters, where part of what they always do is skate backward. I mean, that sure takes skill. I know I couldn't do it, but the whole time you see them doing this thing, and they have this big ass smile on their faces, and I'm like, this does not appeal to me. And sure, you can jump and spin that many times, but still, I don't know.
I think it was their way of trying to make me a little bit more graceful instead of the clumsy thing I was.
I don't know. I used to beg my parents to let me take martial arts, and they were like, sure, you can take judo. I'm like, no, I want something where you can punch and kick. And they're like,
Oh.
That's one thing about being raised by hippies is, like, for the longest time, they wouldn't even let me watch Star Wars just because they're like, no, it's too violent. Everything was too violent for my hippie parents.
My
man.
mom took me to the drive-in for Star Wars and she was a hippie.
So wait a minute now. I take it then that they wouldn't let you watch the Lawrence Welk show because it was all about sax and violins?
I didn't even learn of the existence of Lawrence Welk until well into my teens. And I'm glad of this. It's like learning about Barry Manilow that late.
Bobcat and Detko loved Lawrence Welk, so I endured it when I was a kid. But what are you going to do? I mean, I love those two dearly. They were better parents to me than their own son and daughter-in-law were. So I have to get that to them.
I don't know. I that's one thing that I kind of envy about some people is when they have that family that lives really close by. Like I know I have friends where their grandma is 15 minutes away down the road. Granted, this usually happens rural communities, but even so, it's like I have next to no connection with my extended family, especially on my mom's side. But it's like I see my cousins maybe once every 5 years. So
my situation when I was very young, you're talking about 15 minutes away. Bobka and Detko were 15 feet away. There were two houses on one lot. They lived in the house that fronted the street. The slimy bastards lived in the house behind that with me in tow. So if you couldn't find Eddie around, you just went over to Bobcat's and you knew he'd be there.
See, I mean, that's got to be such a different childhood experience.
I'll tell you, I loved it dearly because, as I say, Bobcat especially was such a wonderful, wonderful person. Detko was a little bit aloof. Bobcat is Granny, Detko is Gramps.
I figured.
Yeah, for you guys in the side chat there, if you didn't pick that up, he was a quiet man. I mean, there was a lot going on between those years. It just, didn't say very much, that sort of thing. Kept to himself a lot. But from Bobka, I learned so many of the things that I carry with me throughout my life. I mean, she taught me to cook. She taught me to embroider. She basically taught me how to live.
Mm.
And every time I bake a batch of bread, she's on my mind. Um, and I guess I'm happy for that because I had no parents as far as that went. There were just a couple of people who were total arseholes.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I mean, I wonder if that's better or worse than having parents who just plain don't get you. Like they're trying really hard to be nice and they're failing at every turn because they don't understand who you really are. I mean, if my parents had been actually like complete assholes, I would have had something to truly rebel against. But just you guys don't get
aha!
me. It was like I was grouchy, but I couldn't justify any kind of verbal or physical violence against them. I just couldn't do it.
I get you now. As soon as you had said, yeah, no one against whom to rebel or nothing against whom to rebel, that's where I got it. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is the case that I had it better in quotes because there was the enemy.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
it, it
like I've tried to explain my mom to people because like, oh, that's everyone's mom, but no, 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 no. I've met other people's moms, and she's just like, okay, there's that George Carlin routine where he's talking about how most people in the world are walking around with this in front of their heads,
mm-hmm,
where,
mm-hmm.
where they're just completely unaware of other people's lives around them. Like my mom is the one in the fast lane with her left blinker still on, that kind of thing.
Okay, okay.
And she has no idea how she's affecting people. And then when you point it out to her, she goes, I don't think I do that. And it's just like so frustrating. There was once I snuck up behind her with a tape recorder and recorded what she sounds like chewing.
Oh
And
no!
yeah, and she was like, I mean, because it sounds like someone walking through mud in boots. It really does.
Jeez.
And I've tried to explain to her, because it seems like when she's about to like unclench her teeth, she's like putting suction on them or something. So she does this like, but without opening her mouth, and
Oh
it,
my word! Yeah,
oh,
I've heard
and
people chew
like
like that.
her entire existence is like that, where she's just doing these things. And then when I try to finally call her on it, she would just go, well, that's just the way I am. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm arguing with you, because that's the way you pick it up. And it needs to stop. She seemed to think that was some sort of an excuse, as that's just the way I am. I'd never get away with that. I could never tell her that's just the way I am and not be told, well, shape up or ship out.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Oh, geez.
So
Yeah. It that does sound extremely frustrating.
it is, because I mean, again, like a lot of our friends their friends really, who didn't live with us, just sort of saw her as a little bit quirky, and that was it. They didn't have to live with it day in and day out. But again, I didn't have any way to like I couldn't make a huge deal out of it. I couldn't call in like child services or anything. Obviously, that'd be an overreaction. But at
Mm-hmm,
the same
mm-hmm.
time, when you spend your entire life dealing with that shit, after a while, it will get on top of you.
Oh yeah.
I kind of gave my mom a reality check that she didn't appreciate.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm great swimming in the water until you yell shark, and then I'll get out. And most people if they've got that fear, they can't get in the water, but I can until someone says shark, because then I don't know. I feel like, okay, panic button has been hit and I can't calm down.
Yeah. There's the
So
dorsal fin. It's okay.
it
Fine.
was really hot. My cousin's called shark. I got out of the water, went inside, and my mother came in to yell at me. She's like, they're just playing around. It's not a big deal. You weren't in danger. Sure, you're in the water. I said, okay, Mom, why don't we just get in the rowboat and I'll take you over to the marsh and I'll scream quicksand. Because that's her fear.
Oh,
And
okay.
she went white and she's like, how could you say that? I'm like, talk about empathy.
Yeah.
Oh
You know,
man,
it's like,
yeah, it's
hello, reality check. And my mother was like, okay, I get it. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, okay. So do you want to talk about quicksand for the rest of it? No, stop saying the word. But quicksand, Mom, why don't we just shame me over my fear and you don't have to deal with your fear? Come on. I was so mad.
yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like,
No,
I
I
get it, I
totally
get
get
it.
it.
the situation in which I grew up, and as you say, maybe I did have it better in a way. Those two did what they did. I'm they firmly I think they firmly believed that what they were doing was number one, absolutely totally correct, and number two, they had the divine right to do it, even when all of the evidence pointed the other way. Um, Almost like stomping on somebody's foot repeatedly and hearing them scream in pain and saying, okay, good, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, one of those deals.
Mm.
Diana,
Yes, dear.
when I burnt my hand when I was a kid, my uncle did step on my foot to make my hand not hurt.
Ah, jeez.
I'm
Yeah,
not
the
kidding.
counter
Wow.
irritant. Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
No,
He
I know you're
totally
not kidding.
smashed my foot, and I'm going, ouch, that hurts, like I'm screaming and stuff like that. And he goes, yeah, but you forgot about your hand, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gee,
but it didn't.
thanks.
The overall improvement wasn't there. Yeah. Um,
But that's part of what things were like back then.
yeah, we're talking here. I don't talk about this very much. We're talking about, for example, a man who firmly believed that it was within his right to kill an unruly child. That was the MSB. And his wife followed along with whatever he wanted.
Very uncool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, talk about a late term abortion.
Postpartum?
All I can say is that
Postpartum abortion.
one of the things I'm happy about is that I am not related to those two. I am happy that I'm an adopted child because just think of what I might have been like with their genetics, man. You know, the brain formation and that whole bit.
Well, I
Uh,
still want to know about my birth parents. I mean, like it's funny. The adoption agency is not allowed to tell me much, but they told me their racial makeup. Except when I got
Mm.
that 23andMe thing done, I got a very radically different story, and
oh,
I'm
that's
like,
interesting.
I know nothing really at all about them, and I'm probably never going to track them down. And so
Yeah.
I'm still holding on to that hope of hopes that one day the spaceship will show up to take me to the home world, but somehow I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have a lot of that mystery in my life, but I am actually, like you, rather glad that I don't share the genetics with my adopted family.
Now, sometimes I still think about it. The birth mother would not be that old. I mean, what I've been told is that she was 23 years old at the time she gave birth to me. So she would be about 84 right now,
Hmm.
which means she could still be alive. Um, and the very interesting thing is, although I might have to jump through an extra hoop now that I've had my name change, um, I can get my original birth certificate from Columbus, from the state of Ohio, because I was born before 1964. I guess those born after 64 have their records sealed and all that happy stuff. And I just never got around to doing anything about it. And now I'd probably have to explain to them, well, my name isn't Edwards of Artke anymore. You know, it's Diana Clarion. I don't know how that would go, but when I have to wonder sometimes. I have a couple of little scenarios going on. It would be great if birth mom would turn out to be a bull dyke. Birth dad would be a cross-dresser, and I have two trans siblings. Let's see, the other one is, since supposedly this woman was a student nurse as well as 23 years old, I have to think, gee, I wonder if Bio Dad was an intern and I was conceived in a medical supply closet,
Well, I mean, that's another thing I wonder about, because they do give you what they call non-identifying information. And there were some things I was told where allegedly my birth father is Italian and Austrian, and my birth mother Cherokee, French, and Black. The thing is, whenever you're Native American, they don't know what it is. They default to Cherokee. So I don't know how right that is. And also, again, with the 23andMe thing, they said I'm less than 1%. In fact, I think it was less than 1/2 of 1% Native American. So I don't know how accurate any of this is. Because someone, who was it, Purple Rhymes with Orange, said, I question the results from 23andMe. And I'm like, well, I kind of do too. But I also know that he had 2 children from a previous marriage. She was single at the time. I don't know if she was, I don't think she was ever married to him. But that's everything else I know.
Okay.
So, except that she definitely lived in Vermont, like my adoptive family.
Okay. Now, the other thing that I had going on in my head was the female would always ask me, haven't you ever thought of looking up your biological parents and stuff like that? And occasionally I would think about it, but I was always a little trepidatious about it because I had the little scenario going on in my head. You go up to the door and the door opens and the guy comes. Hi, I'm looking for my mother. Honey, is there something you haven't told me?
Yeah, and boy, is that a cliche too.
Because my ex went through something like that. Her half sister, who was adopted out, looked up and found their shared birth mother. And Dad didn't like that at all.
Hey, I was 35 when I got a letter in the mail. Hi, I think I'm your sister.
Huh.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I am not even necessarily certain I want to meet them. I just want, pictures and a bit more history, really. I don't necessarily need to interact. And I do wonder sometimes, do they think of me and wonder what became of me?
Of course they do.
And I wonder the same thing. I do. I wonder if, especially the birth mother, I mean, the birth father may not care at all.
I don't even know if mine knows about me, birth father-wise.
Birth mom might have been just a conquest or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or there could have been a very real relationship that could not have gained traction for whatever reason. It could go either way.
Did you hear about the adopted woman who did one of the 23andMe or something like that? And basically she found her birth father through it.
No.
Okay, I've heard of using that information through services that could link you up with family, not family, but biological relatives that have also taken the tests.
The closest I got was like a third cousin twice removed or some shit. I don't remember exactly, but it was like, yeah, you're as not related to my birth family as I am, so, or as I am to yours, or whatever. He was too distant to really ask him anything. So
I've thought of doing the 23andMe, but I just haven't had the cash laying around.
One thing that was kind of amusing, kind of entertaining, actually, is I once met someone in high school, this guy named Ben, and I don't remember who said what to whose parents, but they went, wow, we know each other. You two were at the adoption agency at the same time. Right. And so what they said actually, because I could have ended up with Ben's family really easily instead of mine. But what they did, they looked at me, they looked at Ben and said, that one looks like those two. You're going there. So I ended up with my parents just because I slightly resembled them.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know how we figured out that we were those adoptees, but apparently we are. I'm really glad, actually, as much as I bitched about my mom, I'm really glad that I went with them because Ben's father is a minister.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So.
I sometimes, I have to admit, I sometimes fantasize what would things have been like had the MSB got that job in Chicago and not been in Cleveland, those two had not been in Cleveland to adopt, and I would not have gone to them. What would things have been like? How different would they have been? And who can tell? Because you change one thing, there are still a whole bunch of other things that are contributing to the final result. And would I have fared any better? I don't know. It's really weird to think about sometimes.
Yeah.
But hey,
I don't know. I
it's just something you cannot do, so can't rewind the tape.
And sometimes I kind of wish I could. I mean,
I know that feeling.
There are some mistakes or missed opportunities that I wish I could go back and do, and a couple of things where I wish I had never done them in the first place. But when I think about it, like if I had never gotten together with my ex and she was the reason I moved to Seattle, and so much happened to me in Seattle that my life would be so freaking different right now. Like I never would have worked for that video game company. I never would have worked for Microsoft or Amazon. I never would have gone to the Art Institute where I learned animation. I never would have ended up in the goth scene with all my friends. And I'm sure I've mentioned how different the Seattle goth scene is from any other goth scene. It's basically a bunch of geeks who want to be scary instead of nerdy, and that's really all it is.
Okay.
Well, because other goth scenes take themselves so fucking seriously, and they just don't in Seattle. Like, wear black and you'll fit in, just don't tell them what's on your playlist. So, I mean, it's my life would be so radically different right now. I probably wouldn't have this YouTube channel. I don't know what would be up. So, yeah.
And I have to wonder, what if I would have worked up the nerve and run away when I was 14, the way I had thought of doing. The only reason I didn't was I was afraid of destitution. And had I known then what I know now, I wouldn't necessarily have been so afraid because, I've been there, done that, had the T-shirt,
Well,
yeah, but not as a child.
Say again, huh?
Not as a 14-year-old child.
Well, there was the other thing, it's like, okay, where do I get a job to support myself when no one is legally allowed to employ me? All that other. I had this unfortunate malady called foresight.
Well, I mean, I like after a couple of bitter fights with my parents, wanted to run away, but I didn't know how because we're in this tiny, tiny pocket of suburbia surrounded by otherwise rural Vermont. And my only method of transportation to anywhere is the family car. So how do I get away?
Yeah.
And then we stole the car. And then we got found, though, the next day, a couple towns down.
Well, I would have to probably leave the entire state to get anywhere. Like I'd have to drive to Boston or something.
Hey, sweetie, welcome aboard.
Yeah, and you're also kind of quiet.
You're very quiet.
Oh.
Here, let's see if I can do some adjusting there on my.
Does that help at all?
No.
I'll turn
No.
you up a little bit there. Okay, let's. How do you folks hear him now?
He has to make noise.
You have to make
He
noise.
does.
Is my filter working?
Oh, that's much better.
All right. Yeah, I turned him up a little bit, and I don't know if you did anything on your end, not John?
No, I just slightly moved my thing closer, but it didn't work before. So
Yeah,
You
But the filters-
definitely sound as I remember you at the moment.
good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
couldn't hear you at all before.
Okay then. Yay.
Should be working. Yeah. Okay.
All
And then-
I can say is, what family is a very complicated thing. There's
Yeah.
always a shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
When it comes to my life, I don't really like who I used to be. And, yeah, missed opportunities, plenty of them. Mostly because I'm a coward.
Yeah. I know
You
that
know,
feeling.
And then mistakes made, sure, I would have loved not to have run into a stalker, you know? But, like, I don't see anything changing between now and when I die. Like, I have no... I don't think I'll be able to buy a farm. I don't think I'll be able to, like, have things change. I think prices
wait a
are going to
minute.
go up rather than down. There's so many people in the world.
Well, wait a minute. You say that nothing will change between now and when you die, and that you won't be able to buy a farm. Well, that's the very last thing you will do is buy the farm.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not gonna.
I-
I'm not even gonna buy. I sold. I cashed in my life insurance. So
you
I'm gonna-
totally missed it.
Yeah, I got
I'm
it.
gonna be. I have to start up a separate fund to save up for my cremation.
See, I have, well, actually, it's funny because I'm in absolutely no way a farmer. Just not at all. But the one thing I don't want to be cremated. I want to be used as fertilizer. I want to be part of making the world grow more.
As long as it's not for human consumption of produce, because that can be very dangerous.
I've got some friends who really want, like they have, again, in the goth scene, who have some absolutely horrific ideas of what they want done at their funeral. Like when there's a moment of silence, they want behind the coffin something to start playing. Da 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 da.
That is awesome.
And just like
Hell
have
yeah.
it stop right before just to see the horror. Well, she won't see it, but just have the horror on everyone's faces. They're like, "Oh shit, what's about to happen? Oh no!" So yeah,
Boy.
That's cool.
I love my friend's sense of humor. They're such great people.
No, but you talk about that not being cremated, that sort of thing. I wish that I could. When I was about 4 years old, before he started hating me as much as he did, took me for a walk in a park one day, spring day, collected a whole bunch of maple seeds. And I planted these maple seeds in the backyard. One of them grew into a tree that lives to this day. Beautiful. As far as I know, it's there yet. And I wish I could be laid beneath that tree and become food for it. I mean, that's my tree. I mean, I planted that fucker from seed. I watched it grow. But unfortunately, I think as Obaid said either this morning or yesterday, city ordinances would probably get in the way of that.
But like I said, because I think of those people who are in coffins protected from the elements, and they're not actually going to be part of anything. They're not going to actually, like, I don't know, they're not going to be recycled into the ecosystem, and
Right.
I don't want that for me.
And at worst too, some of them are pumped full of you know,
Like
preservatives like
formaldehyde and shit.
formaldehyde, and so they're poisoning the water system.
Yeah,
And
which is why
well,
they're in vaults.
I mean, that's the thing though, is I want to go back to the earth. I want to be part of the earth again. I mean, obviously my brain isn't going to be functioning again. I'm not going to be like part of a consciousness, but at the same time, there it makes sense to me to become,
Food.
like, yeah, like to. I mean, I'm trying to find a different way to say be part of it, but it makes sense to be part of that cycle.
I think I'm getting it. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
I like the idea of being recycled. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And cuz like your life or not, like your decisions or not, you still have, it's almost like finally having a purpose, even if it's food.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I don't believe people have purposes, but I think food has a purpose. It's weird.
Oh, wait a minute. So you
Well,
mean
you
SJ has a breath?
can make a purpose though.
True. I there's nothing that I look at that says this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't look at,
Well,
I
I
have
don't
a
know
hard
about
time with the
supposed to.
supposed to do. Like, to
Well,
me that's like, but food, you're supposed to eat food, right?
Yeah, it
Food,
kind of
yummy.
helps
I mean,
stick
but I mean,
around.
I'm supposed to do certain things because it's a goal I've set for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Well,
anything,
and I mean, I look at some of the things I've accomplished. I mean, if the word apistivist ever ends up in a dictionary, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I made my mark. I did that.
yeah.
So yeah. And I know there's people out there, they flat out told me that I've converted them from religion, that I was instrumental in them becoming an atheist. I'm just like, I
No.
did my part. No matter how you look at it, I had a positive effect on some people's lives in their estimation as well as mine. So, I mean, I've definitely served a purpose, even if it's not one that was bestowed upon me by the unseen forces of the world.
Right. I just, I don't know.
That
I
whole,
have,
yeah, that whole ultimate purpose that SJ's got going. No, screw that. Um, but for example, I
Why
guess
do
you could
yeah?
say
Why do
that.
we have to be given purpose?
Say again, huh? You're breaking up.
Why do we have to be given purpose?
No, make our own. For
You know,
Christ's
that's the
sake.
whole
Yeah.
concept.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
they
the only
think we don't
purpose
have
I
any
can
because it's
think,
been given us.
the
I
only
mean, if I
purpose
can,
I can think of is food.
if I can
Mm.
be said to have a purpose, it would be to learn. The day that there's no more for me to learn is the day I need to cash in my chips.
Well, that's not gonna happen because this universe is gigantical, so you're always gonna have something to learn.
Ain't that a great thing?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just wish I had the opportunity. I mean, as much as I would give up being a child in the 80s for nothing, at the same time, I would give so much to be around when space travel is a thing. Like
hmm
interstellar space travel, Star Wars or Star Trek style. If that was a thing and I could trade being an 80s kid for that, I'd have a decision to make.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, definitely. Um, and
I
I
don't
guess it's
currently like mankind at the moment, so
I guess it's kind of a little bit similar to me in the sense that I sometimes wonder, would I make the trade to have been born, say, 30 years earlier, or 20 years earlier, and perhaps being able to fly as I wanted to, and meaning the astronaut corps, be a
Oh,
part of all of that rather than a spectator.
well, one thing that actually kind of pisses me off a little is like, how you're always told as a child by teachers, you can grow up and do anything. You can be anything. And I'm
Oh, I
like,
got all
so
that
I can be an
shit.
astronaut with these peepers? NASA will send me up with this eyesight. Like that's one of those things I wish I could go back and call bullshit on my teachers.
Well, I got that shit from the teachers, from the slimy bastards, that you can write your own ticket, you can do anything, you're smart and everything. Well, what they didn't understand, for one, they weren't talking about smart. They were talking about schooled. They had no respect for education. They had a desire to see their kids schooled so they could become doctors or lawyers or attorneys and support them when they got old and needed their arses wiped.
I think
Me, on
that's
the
why
other
most
hand,
people.
say again?
I think that's why most people have kids.
Yeah, pretty much. Who's going to take care of me in my old age? You know, one of those.
Not me.
Mm.
Um, Nobody's going to take care of me in my old age, and maybe that's the best. Excuse me, the best thing. Um, but I was after the education. Excuse me, I was after the education. I wanted to learn new things. I wanted to do the research thing. And I gave it a try years later, and unfortunately, I crashed and burned. Damn it! I wanted that PhD, but I didn't get it. But at least I tried.
See, I never wanted anything like that. I wanted to be like, if I wasn't able to be an astronaut, I wanted to be, well, if not the artist that I am, at least that sort of artist. Like, I'd give almost anything to have a career similar to George Lucas, right? But
Okay.
I'm doing my own animation stuff, and that's the sort of thing I always wanted to do, is to tell stories, fiction, and I'm doing it. Not perhaps as successfully as I'd like, but
Now, wait
there
a
it
minute.
is.
Wait a minute. Okay. In other words, you're not making as much money as you'd like.
No. I've often said that I don't need money. I mean, except possibly to fund projects. I'm seriously like, I spent enough time without money that like right now, I actually have a bunch of disposable cash from Patreon, but I spent so much time like barely living on what little I had, that the concept of disposable cash is alien to me. I'm only just
I
now
know that
starting to
feeling.
realize that there's things on Amazon that I can afford and not even feel it, right? And so if I had the ability to make the kinds of big budget productions that like I say, that George Lucas got a chance to do, that James Cameron got a chance to do, all of those folks, I'd be doing it for its own sake. No part of me is right now thinking, I want the big bucks, I want the stardom. I just want to get my stories out there.
And I would say that you're doing a.
I've never wanted a lot of money. I just want enough to live.
No, I'd say, Kate,
Yeah.
that you're doing a pretty darn good job of getting your story out. Well, I mean, that's from my perspective. I'm not looking at that from inside your head.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is by story, I do mean like sci-fi. I do mean like my own sort of, I
Creative
wish
efforts?
this is what Star Wars had been like if I had done it, sort of stories.
Okay.
So not quite the same thing.
I get you.
Creative.
I get you.
Yeah. I mean, because again, is like, I want people to try to enjoy the ideas that I have, and I don't know if they will, but it's the sort of thing. Like, imagine if I did somehow make $1 billion. Maybe I had some long lost relative who said, "Here's all this money." It's sort of a Brewster's Millions without the contest part, right? I would go to some Hollywood company and I'd be like, look, I have this story in my head, and you don't have to worry about the marketing department. I will 100% fund it myself and see what happens.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I would do agriculture.
That sounds wonderful. That really does. Because, okay, were I to have some sort of opportunity to be able to do something like that, I don't think I would be going for studying affective disorders anymore. I think maybe I would be trying to look at the biological basis of gender for some obvious reasons. Figure out how that works and add to the knowledge base. I mean, not to have a way to fix any of us, but just to understand.
Yeah. And there's not a lot there when it comes to research.
I would do everything I can to get rid of food deserts.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Well, I mean, and that's actually, I mean, something similar. You hear about J.K. Rowling, who made so much freaking money, like more than $1 billion off of Harry Potter, and she took like the vast majority of it and started putting it into charities. Well, I'll tell you what, if I ever get that opportunity to make a big ass blockbuster that I've always wanted to make, and it's at all successful, I will fund your agriculture.
Yay!
Yay!
So, in fact, if I had $1 billion, I mean, most movies these days cost what, 100 million, 200 million, something like that. If I had $1 billion, I'd have a lot left over after doing that.
Yeah, you could make what 5 to 10 movies on $1 billion.
Yeah.
And then depending on what you got back at the box office, hey, you can really just keep it rolling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do have this really, I think, great idea for some sci-fi that I've been working on animating for like the last year or two. And I find it interesting. I don't know if the rest of the world will like it as much as I do, but it's worth a shot.
Hey, you never can tell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's remarkable to me now that people like what I do on YouTube, because
why should it be remarkable?
Well, because so rarely do people look at what I do, say, in person and go, yeah, I like that comedy, or I like what you did. But when it's impersonal, when it's just on my YouTube channel, people seem to like what I do a lot better. I don't know if that's because it's planned out by me. I don't know if that's because, I don't know. But I do know that I'm surprised when people say they like what I do just because of past experiences.
I mean, you've got a method of presentation that I dearly love. It's excuse me, it's that sort of cynical's not the right word, but maybe it is.
Snarky?
Snarky. Okay, that's a good word.
Irreverent.
Thank you. That also works. Yeah. I mean, you're not being a dry lecturer up there. You're almost, I don't know if I'm insulting when I say this or not, almost a bit of a Kurt Vonnegut going on, but not as dark.
Okay, I freely admit I've never really experienced Kurt Vonnegut.
He is, I would say, my favorite fiction author, and it's because of the dark way he writes what he writes. He writes the side of life that's shit, this is what I have to do. Okay, I guess that's what I have to do. Cat's Cradle is I would say that would be a good place to start. If ever you have the time.
Well, let me ask you this. Has he ever done anything with spaceships, aliens, robots, and laser guns?
Let's see. I don't think so. I think the closest he ever got was Slaughterhouse-5. When his main character...
my parents made me watch that movie when I was way the hell too young to watch that movie.
Okay. Yeah, when Billy Pilgrim ended up on the other on that other world, I mean, there were no laser guns or anything, but the space travel was kind of there. Yeah, it was an interesting film. The book is a lot better.
It usually is.
Mm-hmm.
Although there have been times when I've read a book, like some classic, everyone loves this book, where the mental image I got in my head while I was reading it, and then I watched the movie, and I'm like, really? Really? So
Okay.
I don't know.
As far as that goes, there are some books that I read years and years ago, and now I wonder why I ever read them or even liked them or even read them. As an example, I read Catcher in the Rye when I was 11 or 12. Really liked it at the time. I mean, I liked the story of Holden Caulfield. But
Really?
I tried to pick it up recently, and I'm thinking, what the hell did I see in this book? Because just the way it was written was not working for me at all. I read When Worlds Collide and After Worlds Collide when I was, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13. Dearly loved it. Tried to read it again, and it's like, this is so stilted. Why did I even like it then?
Well, you know what's funny about When Worlds Collide is, like, when I first heard about it, no one described it to me, and I did not realize that the title was actually literal.
Yes,
I honestly
yes.
thought that it was like my perspective, the world in which I live, collides with somebody else's, and we have a cultural clash. I didn't realize it was literally Earth bonks into another planet.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And so I watched it recently. Like, I got it off Amazon because it was really cheap, and I watched it. And one thing I could not help but notice is that when all the people got onto that colony ship to go land on this other world to escape Earth's doom, every last one of them was white.
Yes, you noticed that.
Yes.
It was almost Aryan. The folks that were on there, and very, very eugenic. Well, the author, oh god damn, what was his name? I think he was trying to make a point with all of that, with selecting the best and the brightest. It had a whole philosophy of the world going on as a subtext in the book. And then After Worlds Collide was just a continuation of same. And yeah, it's one of those things where you have to sit down and think twice about what you're reading.
Well, I mean, there have been a lot of like movies and stories and books and stuff where there's that subtext that you might not notice at first.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I'm
like,
thinking,
okay, for example, I mean, Starship Troopers, as much as I'd love it if they'd make the book into a movie someday, the movie they did make definitely has like some biting commentary about the world we live in today and where it's headed. And it's just as relevant now, maybe more so, as it was when the movie came out.
yeah, and I think kind of the same way with, well, the one I'm reading right now is Looking Backward, Edward Bellamy. And again, it's a chore reading it because of the way it's written. I mean, it's written in the style of 1888, okay? But there's a lot going on about Bellamy's idea of the perfect society. There's a lot of communist subtext going on there, yes. And you're looking at it and you say, no, it would never work in practice. But it's quite interesting to read his idea of what he thought the world should be like.
Well, I mean, I guess my question has to be, is it really what he thought the world should be like? Or is it, here's what a lot of people think the world should be like, and I'm parodying it, satiring it?
Oh, my. What I'm getting out of reading it is I may be wrong, but I think I'm getting that it is his idea. Just the way he describes it, going into the detail and how things work, and how well it works. But unfortunately, you've got that thing also going that he's not describing that's absolutely necessary here, is that human nature needs a fundamental change before anything he describes would work.
Well, one thing that, like I've noticed, I mean, you were talking before about writing style and talking about how he's not describing. And I don't know if you meant that literally or not, but there are some authors out there who over describe, where it's like it's a chore reading their books. I've actually never read Hemingway. I was thinking actually of George R.R. Martin and also Frank Herbert, because I tried reading Game of Thrones and I tried reading Dune, but these guys would spend like 3 pages describing the candelabras and the drapes in the dining hall where they're about to have the big dinner. And I'm sitting there going, this is boring as fuck. Leave something to my imagination.
I don't mind that as much as I do when it takes 20 chapters to describe a scratch itch on the ass. I mean, you're complaining about 3 pages of description when Hemingway is nothing but like the feeling of the blood underneath the skin and the individual follicles, let's name them all, and you know, like the breeze, the taste in the mouth, the dryness of the eyes, the wetness of the eyes, the clouds, everything. Get to the fucking point, unless it's a short story by Hemingway, and then it's different. However, his novels, it's like you might as well just throw yourself into wet cement and stay there.
Oh man, I'm trying to
describe it as it slowly dries and tears your body apart.
Fun.
I'm trying to find a good place to start.
Yeah, that's
here.
Hemingway.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I love the candelabra, and I love description. I really do. But get to the fucking point. You know what I mean?
I found Herbert to be crazy. I tried to read Dune years ago, and
I loved it.
I may have to pick it up and try again, because it's been when was I trying? About 89 was when I tried to read Dune. Didn't get all the way through it. There were many things that were coming up.
I've also I hate an author who teases me with a potential thing and never gives me the potential thing. Even when the series ends, I never find out what the one thing I've been waiting to find out happened. And if that happens, I want to stab them with a fork.
Well, I mean, there are so many like really popular. We have a cult-like fan base stories or series or whatever where people are like, how can you not like this? And I'm like, I tried to like it. I wanted to like it and just couldn't do it. I own the movie version of Dune and the miniseries version of Dune because I tried so hard to enjoy them and I can't do it. It's the same thing with Blade Runner. I don't know what the Blade Runner actually is. I like the concept, I like the idea, but the execution leaves me going, get on with it. Because you get that scene where Harrison Ford and Sean Young are standing in like this apartment while it's raining, and there's this long pause between every line they deliver, and most of it is just really freaking boring. And I'm like, this movie could have been good if they compressed it quite a bit. So I don't understand why people enjoy that movie. I just don't.
Yeah, I saw Blade Runner, oh god, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, I think. And yeah, it was, I loved the visual effects, but the storyline needed help.
Well, one thing that's kind of funny, like watching Dune, especially the miniseries now, and also like getting, because I did force my way through the book, is realizing just how much of it is based on Islam.
Okay, I hadn't noticed that when I was trying to read it, but that was a while ago, as I say. Maybe I'll have to go back over it.
Well, I mean, like because I've been involved in the whole atheism scene, and let's face it, Islam has been in the popular culture, in the news cycle a lot in the last couple of years, and it's actually quite blatant watching it now.
Yeah, maybe that's what I need is that new perspective. I'll have to give that a try.
No idea. But I have to get going. It's
Oh,
getting late, and I started off tired. But you know that.
it's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. Yeah.
What's that from? That sounds so familiar.
Set 'em up, Joe.
It's one for my baby, and
One for my
more.
baby, the other one for the road. Yeah.
Yeah, I just tried to say that. I
Well,
screwed it up when it came out.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds really familiar,
It's
but
Frank
a,
honestly,
Sinatra.
Yeah, Bette Midler also did a version. I like Sinatra's a lot better.
Well, she sang it to Johnny Carson on his last show.
Yeah.
So there's the difference. But anyway, I
Well-
gotta get going.
Oh, well, you be good. Loved having you on. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Sincerely, it was a fantastic bang up show. Really, really, really. Thank you so much for that.
Not a problem. We'll do it again soon.
Yay!
I'll talk to you later.
Okay,
have
hon.
fun. Don't get
Bye.
run over.
Bye.
Be good and
But
have fun.
I've started, my farewell has become don't get run over because of a George Carlin routine. So,
Okay.
wow,
Oh,
are you breaking
what they
up?
want.
yeah, we're getting a lot of breakup here going on. They say that breaking up is hard to do.
Actually, it's quite easy these
Yeah,
days.
with these, yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, because I was, like I said, on a podcast earlier today, and it was not stable. We lost contact several times.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've had to reboot my internet a lot in the last couple of months, and I don't know what's going on, but it seems to be mildly chronic these days.
Yeah, there are times when the buffering gets to be annoying,
Yeah.
where it just stops, it hangs for perhaps a second or so and then starts back up again, or stops, hangs, and doesn't start back up again. You gotta refresh the whole thing or reboot, as you have, Kate. And I don't know. I haven't found any common thread yet, so I don't know what it's all about. I mean, so many
I've
times.
seen a few channels having issues.
Yeah,
I
GI's had a
went
lot of
through
problems.
issues, and, yeah. I saw Chris Shelton had some issues buffering with his stream earlier, and he does a lot of streaming, so it's not very normal for him to run into issues.
I've been kind of lucky, but there have been streams I've done where the preview or the stream status, if you will, starts out with horrible or bad. It's just not coming down fast enough, and I don't know what to do about that because I don't know what's causing it.
Yeah. Well, what you gonna do?
Either way,
I mean,
it's
I'm gonna
technology.
bitch and complain. I don't know what you're gonna do, but
blame the technology.
Yeah, there you go. It's always the machine's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
well, maybe it's that ghost that's in it that everyone keeps talking about.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, well, I was actually having, I hesitate to call it an argument or a discussion. Me and someone were totally talking past each other about the possibility of, well, the initial question was transferring your consciousness into a machine, into an artificial brain. And my, let's call it hypothesis on this one, is that you can't do it. You can copy yourself into a machine, but you can't actually transfer your own consciousness into it. That the only possible way to become a thinking machine yourself would be if there was some way to maintain continuity in the brain while it was happening. Like if you had some nanobots that would go in and replace the brain synapse by synapse, that, like maintaining continuity of thought, of consciousness, that would be a way to make yourself into a machine, to transfer your consciousness. You'd have to transform rather than transfer. But the more I tried to explain this to this person, they, like, it's not even they disagreed, they just didn't get it. Like, they seem to think that if you literally, like, copy yourself like a hard drive into a machine, you will be looking out of the machine's eyes, essentially.
No, not at
And
all.
it doesn't work that way.
And the other thing about that is every experience you have, everything you learn, everything you see and do rebuilds the brain. It actually physically modifies the brain. So that machine into which you're trying to transfer yourself would have to have the same sort of plasticity in order to learn from every experience it had. Otherwise, it would be static. It would be a simple computer program, and that is not a person.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, I would think of it more as hardware with a potentially adaptable program.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, you do it on the software level rather than the hardware level, basically.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if that would work or not. I really hadn't thought about that. I know I've written a couple self-modifying programs, but they're still very simple. So
yeah, well, and I mean, my experience with programming is limited to like playing around with Pascal back in high school. So I've got a layman's understanding of this, and I'm betting there's a scientist or a programmer or something out there who could tell me exactly why I'm wrong, or who might listen to what I've said and tell me how to modify it in a way I haven't thought of to make it work. I don't know. But it seems to me that at least the concept is sound.
yeah, okay, I get you.
Yeah. But like I said, I was having an argument or a discussion that went nowhere with someone online today because they insisted that you could just copy your stuff, that you could upload yourself into a computer and it would work. And I don't think so.
Can't happen. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more to consciousness than that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what would be necessary offhand in order to have a conscious machine in the way that we are conscious. I don't know if we have the technology yet. You know, screw the $6 million. You know, we simply don't have the technology.
Well, I mean, I've also, because of potentially artificial life forms or meeting extraterrestrial life, I have started insisting that the term person not be limited to human beings.
Oh,
because
yeah.
most folks listen, they hear the word human and they think or they hear the word person, they think human. And I've tried to explain to people, and they've disagreed with me hard on this one, that a cat is a person, right? And this is actually also, this has gotten into discussions about abortion, for example, because they will insist that a baby is a person, that a fetus is a baby. And I'm like, you can't be a person without the structure of what generates thought, what generates the personality. I mean, that's why we call it a personality, not a biological entity. And it just goes right over people's heads sometimes. Like, they just look at you like you're nuts.
And that whole thing about the way corporate personhood is being abused. I mean, at one time it was I guess, a necessary legal fiction but within the last 15 years, the way it's been abused with Citizens United, for example. No, a corporation cannot be that sort of person that can make decisions on its own, hold opinions on its own. Only its principals can do that.
Yeah, well, okay, not entirely off topic, but one thing I've noticed is that in the United States versus Britain, the way like certain concepts, certain, let's call it pronouns, I guess, although my grammar might be off on this one, are expressed radically differently. Because if you were to say, the like Microsoft is doing something versus Microsoft are doing something. Where it's
Okay.
like, as far as I'm concerned, Microsoft is a company and it has employees, but it's not like they are like Microsoft is a they. It's one entity that's a company that is staffed by a lot of entities, and so the way of expressing that is really different. I pointed that out to some folks from Britain, and they were like, I've never noticed that before. So it's strange to me that that's like something people overlook from time to time. I don't know.
The American mindset is really strange. And here's somebody saying this who was imbued in it from her birth, basically. So where do I get off talking about it? But I guess I've been lucky enough to talk to enough people who look at us from the outside, as you have as well. What you're talking about, Microsoft is, Microsoft are, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I wish more around here could do that sort of thing rather than be as xenophobic as they are now.
Well, another one that has always kind of bugged me a little is holiday, where it's like I'm on holiday rather than on vacation. Vacation is a term that doesn't seem to exist at all over there.
Yeah, and you've
And
got different concepts entirely that are being described, at least in my mind.
yeah, well, I mean, because here a holiday is like a certain date on the calendar, where it's like Christmas is a holiday, Valentine's Day is a holiday, all of that. Whereas like over there, I guess the difference between that and a vacation doesn't exist.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
find that very
Well, I
strange.
sort of used both in the same way. Like, you'll still use a holiday as, Christmas is a holiday, Australian Day is a holiday, all the rest of it. But then you'll go and take a holiday, or it's on the holidays from school, like
hmm
that sort of thing.
and
Yeah,
when I
it's
hear vacation here, I'm hearing I am vacating the premises.
well, when I hear vacation over here, I think that it's all I ever wanted, time to get away.
Yeah.
hmm
You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, yes? You
Yeah.
you, you get it?
Yep.
No?
It's
I
a
mean,
it's
Nacho does, but
it's a
do,
reference
do,
to something.
yeah, it's the Go-Go's. Vacation, all I ever wanted.
Oh, okay,
Vacation,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
that
I get you
that.
now.
I
Okay,
sorry.
it takes a
Obviously,
little
my
something
sense
to
of
prod me
humor.
here.
Yeah,
Well, I
but
know there's a slight difference in perspectives that's slightly annoying at times, but I'll learn my way around it.
yeah. But yeah, so I mean that's an interesting one. And let's not even get started on cookies versus biscuits or chips and crisps and all of that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, good idea.
I mean, I wonder how those differences came about.
Oh man, I was just about to say that. Thank
Yeah,
you for
or
thinking the same thing.
Just minor linguistic change, like sort of evolutions, but the changes when they sort of divert and they go in different directions depending on which particular little groupings migrated
I mean, I have to
in the
wonder
language
how much of
community.
it was due to Americans being jackasses, and saying we're going to do this differently because we're different people now. Once the separation came about, I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah, I mean, in my world, a torch is like I think I heard a British person describe it as a flaming firebrand.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
That you hold up, like, because you're walking through a cave and the halfling holds it up for you because they're not the fighter. You know what I mean? So,
Okay.
yeah, in my world, that's a torch. I don't know.
And I guess the other torch is a flashlight. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, I
Yep.
know where the flashlight more or less came from here. I actually had one years ago. There was a flashlight made by the Eveready company, which had the main light, and you could actually move it around and see where you were going. But there was also a momentary contact switch, which you could press and release, and the light would flash. You could actually send Morse code with this fucker. So I get the impression that early models were probably built that way, and it was a flash light, a flashing light.
Yeah,
Well,
that
okay, you
would
know
make
what what the potato chip said to the battery?
Oh, come on. Okay.
I don't.
If you're ever ready, I'm free to lay.
Uh-huh.
Good
Shut up,
Lord.
Valerian.
I heard that when I was like, I don't know, in elementary school or high school or something, and it's stuck in my memory for the longest time. So, what you gonna do?
Oh, man. And then, of course, there's the, where the hell did I put it? I don't know where oh, I know where I put it. Okay. And I know this is so freaking old. I know. You know what this is, right?
It's assault and battery.
There
Yeah,
you go.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, your little thing there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do love
I'm
a good
full of it
pun. I
here.
do love wordplay. I have my way with words.
That's what I dearly love about you, but, what can I say?
It's amazing how many people don't get the subtlety where it's not I have a way with words, it's I have my way with words. People don't catch that. I just, I give people too much credit for being clever.
Okay, and I give them too much credit for having intelligence.
Well, similar, not exactly the same, but pretty damn similar.
Yeah, it's, I wish people had the reasoning capability that I wish they had, if I made any sense there, but, I wish they had the capacity I give them credit for having. Might be a little bitter society going on over here, but unfortunately, it's just not the way it works.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ooh, man, I'm starting to get both tired
Oh,
and
are you?
hungry.
Uh-oh, that's a bad combination.
I'm
That is
not
a bad
necessarily ready to leave, but I will have to soon. It's funny because you know how I'm not allowed to have ginger or chocolate right now.
Right now, unfortunately.
So on Facebook, I asked people for like a warm, thicker than tea drink that I could have. I'd completely forgotten about the existence of eggnog, which has cinnamon, which actually has the opposite effect of ginger. It's a vasodilator instead of constrictor. So I can totally have eggnog, yay.
All right.
And it's that comforting drink. Like, I don't know what it is. In Southern California, I guess it's because it's technically a desert. But in Southern California, it will roast during the day or during the daytime, but in the morning, it's freaking freezing, right? Like, I went to bed last night thinking I should just use the sheet. and woke up like, where the hell's my blanket? Right? And
Okay.
so I wanted something like hot chocolate with my breakfast, but couldn't have it. And so all day I was like, what else can I have? And then it was like, oh yeah, eggnog.
I have to
So,
work on the memories left by eggnog because the female would feed my sister and me eggnog to put weight on us because that was
huh,
the chubby kid was a healthy kid as far
I
as that
see.
demographic thoughts, and unfortunately, it probably helped, not entirely caused, but maybe helped the my dimensions because I've always been a big
Mm.
kid and a little too big, always a little overweight. Well, I'm way overweight now, but that's another story entirely. I could
Well,
I could stand to drop 50 right now.
Well, I mean, it's funny what you were talking about earlier on the mainstream, because, like I say, I was raised by hippies. I had so much vegetable, like food, basically thrown at me, and I like it's completely the opposite of your experience, clearly. But at the same time, like when I was a teenager, I guess my metabolism had gotten used to it or something. So when I would eat something a little more substantial, something more like meat like, it, I'm not going to say it would pass right through me because it was not like diarrhea or anything, but people assumed that I was anorexic or bulimic because I was just that thin, like scary thin,
Ooh,
right? And
okay.
and I would have to
Welcome to
tell
my
them,
world.
you were hanging out with me when we got a burger the size of my own head. You watched me eat it, and you were with me the whole
Mhm.
time afterward. I did not throw it up. Like, you didn't even see me go to the can. It's just what my metabolism was doing. But people were scared for me. I was that thin.
Okay, and then I was the one that broke 150 pounds when I was 11, something like that,
Okay.
maybe 10. Um, well, then I grew weird anyway. I don't know if it's exactly accurate to say it, but I grew more like a girl than a boy. Very early puberty and a very early end to the growth. I mean, I had attained my adult dimensions by the age of 14.
Hmm.
5'9", 170. And yeah, I definitely out of line with the other kids, and I was never a sports type, so that didn't help in that area.
Yeah.
Um, but I was the one too who could never get enough broccoli, never get enough Brussels sprouts. I was the weird kid who liked all that shit.
I never liked it as a kid, and I don't even know what happened later in life, but I love broccoli. I think it's some of the awesomest vegetable matter that exists.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Lightly steamed.
Usually, well, okay. It depends on what I'm making. Sometimes I like to stir fry it, but then
Oh, okay, yes, yes.
if I'm making like basmati rice, for example, in the rice cooker, it has that plastic thingy you put over the rice for the vegetables to steam, and so I'll do
Yes.
that too.
Well, my thing is aluminum, but I get the point. Yeah. Um, and trying to think, where was I going to go with that? Okay, lightly steamed. Raw is wonderful.
Yes
Um,
and no.
again, it depends basically what you're doing with it. I mean, I'll cut florets into a bowl of leaves, i.e., a salad, and eat that stuff up. But mostly, very lightly steam it to where the green becomes that much more intense.
Just try to make sure that the what are they called, florets or whatever, are not slimy.
Right, right.
Yes.
Now, I will occasionally throw it into a soup. Um,
I've
uh,
tried that. It sort of works.
I'll make lentil soup later, and
Oh,
hopefully,
see,
hopefully once this furnace gets repaired and is working and everything, and I don't have to worry about people coming in and out and everything, I'll do a giant pot of lentil soup and can it, but throw broccoli in there, and it's not all that bad really. If
well,
you
I mean,
put
now we get back to me and how much in a way, I guess I rebelled against my hippie parents, and that's why I like junk food. I don't know. Uh, but for me, if I'm gonna put broccoli in soup, it's gonna be something like Lipton instant chicken and noodle or something. You
Okay.
know what I mean? With the packet, and it's got
Yeah.
all the dust in it. That's that's the kind of soup that I'll eat with broccoli in it. So
I'm the one. I will do the I will do the fake food, in quotes, if you will, the packets full of dust, and you throw them into a bowl of water. But memories of babka, I love to do all of my, or most of my own cooking, and I'll cook just about everything. If it's a soup or if it's bread, God, I love to bake bread. I haven't done it in a while. I'm gonna have to do it again. Um, Chicken paprikash. Oh my God. Um, all right. Let me see now. Is paprika okay with you?
I have no idea if it's in anything. I've never deliberately put it in something, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. I don't know if it's safe or not
That's what I
because
was
I've
wondering if
never.
it was
Well, no,
safe.
but what I'm saying is I don't know if it's safe or not just because I've never had to look it up
Okay.
because I've never deliberately used it.
Okay. I mean, picture this: Sicily, 1923. Um, you cut up a chicken. You get it sautéing with chopped onion and a shitload of paprika. And while it's sautéing, you start up a large pot of water to boil. Then, when the chicken is getting kind of near done, you pull that out of the saute pan, and with the liquid that's left behind in the pan, to that, you pulled out a whole chicken. So to that liquid, you add, the recipes say half a cup. Bullshit. 2 pounds of sour cream. Get that all nicely mixed up and everything. Put the
Not a
chicken.
fan of sour cream, but okay.
Pardon me.
Not a fan of sour cream, but okay.
Okay. And then you put the chicken back in there and to finish cooking. And while it's finishing the cooking, you make drop dumplings. You put the dumpling dough into that boiling water that you started earlier. The egg and the flour and the baking powder and the water. Get those going. Almost like spätzle if you do it that way, or you can do the big fluffy things, whatever you want. Um, get those done. By then, the chicken's ready. Put the dumplings on the plate. Put a piece of chicken on the dumplings. Ladle the sauce over it. Put it in front of somebody's face, and just let them dig into it. This is the kind of cooking I grew up with. It's the kind of cooking Babka taught me to do, and God, I love that shit. And I have to revive the transgendered chef because I have to do some more shows of that. Um,
When you were talking about chicken, for some reason that reminds me of a video that I saw on Facebook like recently where it's like Thanksgiving and the turkey is done
okay.
and like the dad is about to carve it, but he looks inside and he goes, "Oh my God, what is this?" And he pulls this like Cornish game hen out of the turkey, and all the kids are like, "Oh my God, it was pregnant!" And it's like,
Oh,
dude, they lay
jeez.
eggs, you idiots. But it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Just because, oh boy, did he get them.
Oh man, I love it. Now I've never done that one. I've seen the recipes for turducken,
Hmm.
but duck is kind of expensive, and I don't get it very often. One of these days I will. But a couple of years ago, for the winter holiday, I made duck à l'orange. I'd never made it before, and it didn't turn out too badly, if I must say so myself. Um, so if you like duck, I mean, there's always that sort of thing going on. And
I
yes,
actually have no idea if I like duck.
wait, wait, it's a little, no, not a little. It's a lot greasier than chicken.
Hmm.
But you can put that to good use. And even greasier than duck is goose. And boy, could you put goose grease to good use. Cook with that stuff.
That's another one I've never had.
Yeah, I don't have it very often because, well, last year I had a couple friends over for Christmas dinner. Neither of them had had, uh, neither of them had goose before. And I was thinking about goose, but then, well, the price. Uh, so I was going to get a duck, but I looked at the grocery store's listing, and next to the duck there was half price goose. And I said, "Oh shit, half price! I'm going to get this for the girls, and we're going to have a hell of a dinner." Now remember, this is a half price goose, half price. I paid $70 for that 10-pound bird.
Jeepers.
Yeah, that's why I don't have goose that often. Uh,
Yeah. Imagine if you tried to buy a whole Maverick.
yeah, pretty much.
Sorry, I hear goose. That's where my brain goes. So, yeah.
And duck is comparable. It's a bit less expensive, but it's still it'll still kill your budget as far as that goes. So it's when I made the duck à l'orange, I happened to have a couple grocery store gift cards,
Mm.
and that plus the duck at half price, which was only I think about 350, 375 a pound. Um, that was not a bad thing. And it was like, okay, I'll spend the gift cards on that duck, and not too terribly bad actually. Um, with oh, what's the name of the liqueur? Excuse me for a second. I actually used the real thing. Oh yeah, Grand Marnier. I actually used that rather than triple sec.
Yeah. I'm sure I've mentioned before that people in Vermont do not pronounce French like it's French. So that's Grand Mariner.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, I probably murder French when I try to say anything in French because I can't get that much shit into my mouth, you know?
It's kind of like trying to pronounce Hebrew.
Yes! Except the French doesn't have quite the gutturals that the Hebrew does.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I honestly find French to be a very ugly language, but part of that is probably because it's Quebec French that I heard most.
Okay, fine.
Like even France French people, Francophile, I don't know what the hell you call them. They will say, yeah, that's not real French.
Well, yeah, well, especially when you're talking to a Parisian because they get pretty picky when it comes to the language. Or at least that's the stories I hear.
Hmm.
Because there was when I was actually taking a night class trying to learn some French, I had wanted to take French in high school along with the German, and the slimy bastards are all over me with, "You're already taking one language, why do you want another?" And it's like, I want to learn, you know?
Linguist is a potential career, guys.
Oh, they wouldn't have anything like that. No, you can't get a job and make a one word here, lot of money.
Hmm.
LOTTAMUNNIE. A lot of money. You can't do that with with a linguist thing. But where was I going with this? Something about French. I forget.
Yeah.
No,
I
I'm
don't
not.
know.
I'm not losing it the way I did a couple times earlier. I've had that medication changed. I'm just a scatterbrain, that's all. Um, Grandma, yeah. Oh, the story. That's it, that's it, that's it. I knew it would come back. The French teacher was talking about being in Paris and ordering, wanting to order a small drink. And the word for small and the word for two are very close in pronunciation.
Oh,
And yeah, she pronounced it not correctly as far as the waiter was concerned. So she wanted small, but the waiter brought two just to be a pain in the arse. You know, one
mm,
of those deals.
right. Well, I mean, I think one of the things that I find most distasteful about French is the letters they don't say. Like the name
Woo!
Devereaux. Where the hell is that X in Devereaux? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That just bothers me. I don't know. So that's part of why I find that language distasteful.
There's a Carlin joke. It's on a different subject, but it's the same whole thing. Um, where he's saying, you know, what's your name? Janowski. How's it spelled? S-M-I-T-H. What? Never mind. They're all silent. That's French. Every damn letter is silent, and you're pronouncing letters that don't even show up. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, what's the one in Monty Python where he's like, well, it's spelled whatever, but it's pronounced throat wobbler mangrove, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
I've
God.
actually got that on my Facebook where it's like, Kate Farr, but it has that how to pronounce your name section on your profile. So I put throat wobbler mangrove on that. Yeah.
Oh man, you remind me. I was thinking of fooling around with that at one time. I never got around to it. Maybe I should throw something in there for how to pronounce my name. Anything but Clarion. Come up with something weird.
Well, like I don't even know where it comes from, but one of my favorite last names is Blankenship. I think that's one of the funniest names I've ever heard.
Okay.
I,
Now,
I don't know why. Like if I cannot remember someone's name, I'll say, "Oh, I remember. It's Wilbur Blankenship." I don't know why, but that name amuses the hell out of me. So, yeah.
oh my word. Oh, I'm trying to think of some of the interesting names I've run into. Most
Which
of them are
reminds me
in.
of
What?
Rowan Atkinson's. I can't remember, something I saw online where he was like, he can make anything funny, and he was given words, and one of them was Bob, 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 and he
Well,
just
I
kept
mean,
Oh.
saying it in funny ways.
he said that on like there's a character named Bob on so many different series of Blackadder, and he said
Okay.
that name in silly ways repeatedly. So yeah, he can do that.
Hell
I
yeah, that might be what I'm thinking of.
But
so
like he would Bob, like he wouldn't just say Bob, he'd be Bob, like
Yeah.
almost like it's Bub instead of Bob.
okay.
Yeah,
Some of the Polish names I grew up with, there are no vowels in these
really.
names. Well,
It sounds like what's the one in like Ireland or Scotland? You know,
uh,
in a Gaelic, I guess.
oh,
Where
the
where
the language. Okay,
yeah, where there are no vowels in some of them.
would that be
Ooh.
Welsh?
Maybe it's Welsh. I don't know. It's one of those.
A friend of mine, his name was Bezdavka.
Yeah.
So let's see, Bzdafka. A name that long, and he only had a couple A's in
Vowels.
there,
Oh.
and everybody's looking at his name. How the fuck do you say this? So we knew him as Buzz.
Mm.
He's the second Buzz I knew. Um, yeah, and a lot of the Polish names, so few vowels. There's so many consonants thrown together the way they're never thrown together in English.
Yeah.
Where you?
Well, like a lot of the CZ words.
Yes. I had an uncle. His last name was spelled Talarczzyk, Talarczyk, and
Okay.
that's where the CZ you get that chick or the ch. Well, as in the nationality, Czech.
Right.
And then, of course, there was the basketball coach. I have to find the spelling of his name because a friend of mine handed me that name and was like, Jesus Christ. Wait a minute. I'm trying to find it. I because it was spelled almost as if it should be pronounced Krasuski or something like that.
Yeah.
The man's name was Shashevsky.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean letters that didn't even show up. You were saying.
Well, one thing that's kind of funny to me is like, okay, my last name is Fahr, Fahr,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the number of people who think that's pronounced fair for some reason instead of far, Fahr. AH is ah. How did they not figure this out? Right?
Yeah, I mean,
But,
from my German, I see then I instantly see Fahr.
well, one thing that's really funny though is apparently the like do you get those sort of robo reminders of doctor's appointments where
Oh
it's just
yes.
yes. Well, those think that my last name is an abbreviation for Fahrenheit. So they say Fahrenheit. We have an appointment for Kate Fahrenheit.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see where it got mixed up. Yes, but
Yeah. But still, it like the first time I heard it, I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh my. Well, I don't know what the robo things would do to my dead name. I mean, for fuck's sake.
Which was
Zavartke. I mean, the kids in school couldn't get it right, so I doubt a robot could.
Yeah.
Zavartkay.
Well, I'm not gonna get that right either.
And yeah, there were only well, there are no when in the immediate circle that I knew of anyway. There are none left. There may be a couples of Artkays in New Jersey, but I don't know if they are closely related or not. I don't know how common a name that is in the Slovak Republic. I did find somebody in the Slovak Republic with that name, Tibor Zavartke. He maintains an apiary.
Yeah.
But I never did send a note, to see what he knows or compare it to what I knew or whatever. But yeah, when those two died, that was the last of them, at least as far as the so-called family goes. My sister died in 2007. I changed my name in 16. Then he died in 16. She died in 17. That's it, kids. Well, I mean, the older people that you expect to die, they were all dead already. Yeah, but.
Well, one thing that's kind of funny is like my parents, they're like I say, they're hippies. And hippies love to play around with names.
Oh yeah.
Right? So my mom kept her Jewish name. My dad kept his Italian name, which is this crazy like 11 or 13, I have to count it up, letter name. And then they gave me the name Far. And I came so close. I mean, this close to having one of those like hippie names like Moonbeam or Sunshine or this close.
I don't
this
know if
close.
I don't know if I could have made it through life with a name like that.
Yeah, well, I actually think there ought to be like I think Native Americans had something like this, but there ought to be a naming ceremony where once you reach a certain age, you just get to change your name. Because I know some parents who have given their kids the dorkiest names in the world, and it's like, what the hell were you thinking? They're just gonna get teased left and right. And I know it sounded clever to you, or I know it's a family name, but what the hell, right?
Yeah, a
Like, as
friend.
much as I love my friends from the goth scene, all of them have given their kids the most funky, fucked up names there are, right? And
And yeah,
and so I don't know. I think it ought to be like a legal right, like once you hit 18 to change your name.
I'd really like to
It
see
just,
something where
yeah,
18 or beyond, you get that one free spin.
yeah,
And then after that, if you want to do it again, okay, you can pay for it and all that shit. A friend of
yeah.
mine, years ago, he left Homestead quite a few years ago, but he owned the local convenience store delicatessen sort of thing. His wife was raised by hippies. Her name was Infinity.
Oh, jeepers. Well,
Spelled,
I knew an infinity. It's
uh,
probably not her because she's my age, but fuck, I knew an infinity.
was her name spelled with a final I or a final Y?
I never saw it spelled.
Finney's
Like
name.
she wasn't a friend. I just knew her from school.
Okay, Finney, as we knew her, everybody called her. Her name was spelled with a final I.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it was the word infinity, but the Y was changed out for an I. Um, and then, well, her husband was Kuram. Well, he was Pakistani, so it kind of figures. Uh,
Hmm.
Kuram Qureshi, the name Qureshi. It's like Smith over here. Uh,
Well, one thing that's kind of funny, like my dad's, like I say, Italian last name. Now, we're not related to the guy apparently, but there is this recently popular actor called Joe Manganiello.
okay.
That's my dad's last name.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, like I said, because there was I think my cousin Adam just got married, and that's my dad's sister's son. And so while we were having dinner, I was like, "So you know that Joe fella?" And she was like, "Yeah, we already checked. We're pretty sure we're not related to the guy." So yeah. But no, I mean, the first time I saw his name in the credits, I was like, because that's not a common name. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, that whole thing with the uncommon names. I mean, even when I was young, at least in the circle that I knew of, there were no more than a dozen of us Zavartkes. Um, Now, as far as I understand it, I am the only Diana Clarion in the United States.
Hmm.
Well, remember I chose that name, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to look. Like, I've never looked it up. I don't even know if there's a way to look it up. You must have done it, but I wonder if I'm the only. Because okay, my full name is Catherine, not Kate. But I wonder if I'm the only Catherine Farr out there.
There is a way to do it, and I forget the name of the site. I'll have to look around and try to dig that one up again. Yeah, they'll
I bet
give you
this will
the
blow your mind,
yes,
but I'm the
yes, dear.
only not Jar Witness. There
I
is no
never would
other.
have never would have thought.
Who'd have thunk it? Well, I'm almost certainly the only bionic dance. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only lavender lady, damn it.
No, you're not.
I know of a couple
Uh,
more. But they are lavender lady. They are not the lavender lady. So okay, I've got
yeah,
that
you're
going
the
for me.
Lavender Lady.
Yeah, the.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Implies importance.
Yes.
I don't know.
The real lavender lady. That's what I
Yeah.
should have done.
Well, you need either that or official. You know how they'll have official at the end of it?
Yeah. 'Cause
Lavender Lady, official.
I hadn't thought to do it when I started up my Twitter account. Because, the way you have the real Donald Trump, which they have the real Diana Clark.
Oh, see, and that's actually, I thought of it when I was starting, I was like, do I do anything like that so that if other people copy my name, they'll still, hit me? I'm like, no, because either I'll look pretentious or I'll just come off like Trump, and nobody wants that.
Well, okay, I had what I thought was a clever idea for one of my outros, but as far as I was concerned, it was sort of parody satire of Trump, but a lot of people thought that it meant I supported him. Where Sandra comes out and says something like, make the internet great again. Like she says, rate and subscribe and make the internet great again. Then she salutes and these jets fly over with like red, white, and blue smoke coming out of them and stuff. It was like this big whole production. And I thought it was hilarious, but a lot of people were like, are you a fan of Trump? I'm like, no, I'm making fun of his ass. But it didn't, I know, so I don't use it anymore. I should do something similar, but without like that Trump connection, like something that comes off as overly patriotic in some fashion, just to have the silly.
What was great when I was in Chicago last year, I was at Wrigley Field watching a game, and that was the day that the Blue Angels were doing their practice runs. So they're flying over Wrigley, and nice and low too. And boy, that shook the place up whenever you get these 5 jets flying over.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's a Seattle event called Seafair, and the Blue Angels traditionally fly around the city for like a week, right?
Yeah.
And they would make that sound just going by my apartment at the time, because I looked right out on Puget Sound, and that's where they did their maneuvers. And so every now and then I would just hear that loud floosh. And now I'm in San Diego. I live really close to that Air Force base. So every now and then I get a helicopter really low over my apartment. And like that shit's loud. I had no idea helicopters were that loud. So
they can be indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, that's one thing that I never actually like. I would watch, say, action movies, and in action movies, gunshots are not that loud, right?
Right.
And I'd never been around an actual gun being fired, and then I heard some once, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did they survive this?
Yeah.
Even in silence, they're fucking loud.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, because I've only done it once, but I did go to a shooting range with a 22, and that was loud enough, even with the headphones on, the earmuffs.
Yes.
So, also, apparently, I'm a really damn good shot. So,
ooh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, what was really great was a couple of years ago, one of the air shows around Labor Day. I was over the ex's house because I would occasionally go over and cut her lawn. I'd be nice to her and everything, that sort of thing. And that was in the path of the county airport where the air show was going on. So I'm out in the yard and I hear a sound. And I know that sound. I said, no. Really? And I look up and there's a B-17. It's beautiful.
Huh.
This flying fortress, World War II bomber, flying above, and oh shit, I need my camera.
Well, I know they don't use them anymore, but I will always have a soft spot for the F-14 Tomcat. There's just something about that design with the twin fins and everything.
Yeah, okay.
And it probably didn't help that it was the plane they used in Top Gun, and I seem to remember there was a plane in G.I. Joe that looked just like it. And there's just something about that plane that makes me go, ooh, I like it. So
my favorite plane of all time, even better than the B-17, is the P-51, the Mustang.
The Mustang?
Yeah.
All right. Huh. I'm not a huge fan of propellers.
I'm a big prop fan.
Wow.
If I had the cash, I would own a Mustang. Definitely.
Now,
work
if I
out a
had
way
the
to have the
cash-
pilot's license.
if I had the cash, I would own a DeLorean, but that's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Because I
I
would
don't
just
know.
love to. I'd love to do the air shows, and I would want that Mustang outfitted, with the machine guns in the wings, okay, and the cannon in the nose. Uh, just to do the air shows, and I'd love to fly into an airport in this damn thing. Turn a few heads.
Oh
And
yeah.
undoubtedly a few stomachs. Yay. But well, I mean, I did I ever tell you the DeLorean story that I have?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I have a
uh,
feeble mind.
I'm not sure how long ago this was, but some friends of mine have season tickets to various sports, and I'm not really sports people, but they invited me, and I figured, what the hell? And so it was an exhibition game with the Seattle Mariners, and I forget who the other team was, but they called it the turn ahead the clock game, where they dressed up the whole stadium to look like it was the future, which is why they invited me, right?
Okay, fine.
So so to throw out the first pitch, they were like, and now to throw out the first pitch, and these doors open up at the back of the stadium, and onto the field drives a DeLorean, right?
Okay.
And the door pops open, and out steps big fat Scotty from Star Trek to throw out the first pitch.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, cool. I mean, I'm not really a Trekkie, but cool, right? So apparently he lived until he died in the Pacific Northwest. So, yeah, that's why they managed to get him without much trouble.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's my DeLorean story.
I was never really into the cars as much as the boys were supposed to be.
Yeah?
I mean, my ex was better at maintaining a motor vehicle than I was. Okay. It's I just never really got into it. Now, building and flying model rockets. Okay.
I did the Estes thing back in the
Yes.
day.
Yes. I started with Estes, and I ended up flying some of my own designs. And designing the darn things was what was really, really fun. Build the wind tunnel, check for stability, that whole thing.
That's way more involved than I ever got.
And especially, there was one that I was working on. It was a two-stage, but not the way Estes did the two-stage, where you had the two motors rammed up against each other. On this
Right?
thing, there was a good bit of space between the booster and the sustainer. So I actually built an electronic ignition device to fly along with this thing. And man, keeping the weight down and still having it work and getting everything arranged, God, that was so much fun. It really
Hmm.
was. And I wish I could get back into it, but number one, I don't have the spare cash, and number two, I really don't have a way to get anywhere to where I could fly any of these things. Because you do need some open space, as you well know.
Well,
Um,
one thing I do own a drone. The problem is that I live within screaming distance of an airport, and I think if you're within 5 miles, you're not allowed to fly a drone, right?
okay, that makes sense.
But there is a San Diego Drone Club that meets somewhere else, like far enough outside of the limits, and I keep wanting to go, but I don't really have a way to get there right now. So in April, I do have plans to get a vehicle. Nothing special, but I do have plans. So if I can drive, I will get actually one of those motorized scooter things. And I don't mean the kind
I
you
was
stand on.
I
I
was going
mean
to ask.
like more like a moped kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they're making really kind of cool ones now. I don't want one of those retro ass things, but there is one. A friend of mine described it as it looks like at some point it could turn into a robot, and I'm like,
Ooh,
totally.
all right,
It
Transformers.
like my first thought when I saw it was like if Kaneda from Akira owned a scooter, it would look like this, right?
I've
So
thought I've
That's
thought
what
of
I'm getting.
I've thought of buying one. Well, when I was in school, I had thought of buying one to get back and forth to school. But the darn thing is that I've only got half a year to use one.
And then what happens?
And then you have to store it during the winter. Because I'm not going to
Oh,
drive this thing through snow. I don't even know if you can you?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
And I'm glad I have no idea.
yeah. I tell
I wouldn't
you,
imagine. So,
there are reasons I don't mind living where I do live, but there are times that I wonder if I could live in the Southwest, Southern California, something like that, uh, because there, as time has gone on, I get along less and less with the cold.
Well, this is why I moved.
Yeah, it's there were those couple of years that I lived in a bombed out shell of a house without effective heat, without indoor plumbing, and a couple of the worst winters Pittsburgh had had in decades. It's minus 10, and I'm fully dressed in a trench coat under 5 blankets with 6 cats around me, and I'm still cold.
I know the
And
feeling.
I am so sorry.
Well, I was raised in Vermont. What do you want?
Oh, okay. I thought you were actually homeless. Okay.
No, I'm just saying that the whole being freezing part,
Yeah,
in spite of
I
being
get you now.
bundled,
I get you now.
yeah.
That
hey,
left
I'm gonna have to
me.
run off. Sorry, guys.
Oh, catch you like the plague. Have fun.
Thanks
Well,
for
you be
letting me
good.
chill out, though. It's been nice.
You be good,
Don't get run
sweetie.
over.
Loved having you around. Sincerely. Um,
It's always lovely. Thank you.
you be good. Have fun. I know they're mutually exclusive. Do the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try them both. See how I like
Do
them.
not. Do or
Catches.
do not. There is no try.
There
Anyway,
you are.
one thing that I've thought about doing now, I live too damn far from LA to actually do this, but one thing I would love to do someday is to become a professional extra. Like, I don't want to be a star. I want to go and I want to be the one in the coffee shop pretending to chat with my friend while the stars of the sitcom are doing their thing. I want to be the one walking away from the camera with my back to it on the Starship Enterprise. I want to be that like just I want to be in everything, but not a speaking part. Just I'm an extra. I think that would be the coolest thing in the entire world.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a
Also,
noble.
because if people start to notice, because sometimes people are that anal. They'll be like, oh, I've seen that extra before. I know I have. It's kind of like the thing I did with that license plate. That's the 555 of license plates. You know the one I'm talking about,
Yes, I
right?
do. Yeah, you were talking about
Yeah.
that with me.
And there's
Yeah.
also a prop. I have a video about it. If you go to my channel and look up the Wilhelm device, like the Wilhelm scream, but it's a prop. And that's just what I named it. It only has like a catalog name for real. But there is a prop that has been in everything, right? I mean, it's been in The Last Starfighter, tons of Star Trek episodes. It was in the original miniseries of V and all kinds of other stuff, Alien Nation. And like for the longest time, because I'm a total geekatron, I was like, where the hell is this thing? I actually looked it up and found the prop company that will rent it out to people, right? And because I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, I made a CGI model out of it. And when I finished this video, I sent it to the people who made the prop, who rented out, and they were like, that's the coolest thing. Like they actually corresponded with me a little. And so I would like to be that, but as an extra, because if people start to notice, they make websites for that sort of thing. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Where it's like, okay, there's that extra. It's like I did with the video. They're going to go, I've seen you in everything. Someone would do it. So, yeah.
Well, I think I remember you telling me that you have actually been recognized
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. I mean, one of the reasons I moved to San Diego is because the people at the atheism booth recognized me. Like, I was walking past them in Balboa Park. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're Bionic Dance. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, I watch your videos all the time. And then I noticed what the booth is. I'm like, that's too cool. I have some built in friends.
All
So
right.
so that's one of the reasons I moved to San Diego. And also,
Okay.
people started recognizing me after that time I was on Tosh Point oh on Comedy Central. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh man, but yeah, to finish up where I was headed, I've got something of a, I guess you could call it PTSD with the
Okay.
cold, and
Yes.
I detest the cold, and especially if it's a biting wind. I've been in tears just trying to get where I'm going, and yeah, it's. I sometimes wonder if I wouldn't do well moving to somewhere warmer. I don't know. I mean, there are reasons I don't mind living here, and I'd have to start all over again, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, that, like I said, well, it was less the cold and more the sun, but that's why I moved away from Seattle. I needed to get somewhere where the environment was more friendly to me.
Mm-hmm.
And are we actually off air now? It says
Um.
off air.
Yeah, it does say. No, oh, I'm sorry. No, 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 no. We're streaming through OBS. This will say
Oh,
off air while we are on air.
I see. Okay. Well, actually, I mean, we probably should because I'm starting to get really hungry this time.
Oh boy. Okay,
So,
we'd better let you
yeah.
get some food and stuff. And
Yeah. I mean, it's only 9 in the PM, but I need, like, I've been falling asleep at like 1 or 2 a.m. a lot. I need to get to bed early.
my word, this is what you do to time. I had completely lost track of time, and yeah, it's 5 minutes after midnight over here. And well, this is how good a time I'm having. Let's face it.
Here's
Um,
I know the feeling. I stopped playing a video game for this. So,
oh well, I thank you for that because that's dedication. I don't know what. What do you want to call
well, I mean, it's also
it?
worthwhile. I mean, I've been on a lot of your hangouts, and I've been like busy or distracted or something when they're going on. I kind of miss this.
Well, thank you for that sentiment. It's
What? It's fun. I love hanging out with people online. It's like I did that podcast earlier today, and that was a blast. So I don't know. It's great.
well, I thank you for the appreciation. I really do. It's not often I get to hear stuff like that. Thank you.
Well, I know the feeling. I mean, eventually I started getting mildly popular on YouTube, and people would start saying that sort of thing to me. And I always get a little bashful, which is weird because I'm never bashful. But when people start going, I love your channel, I'm like, thanks. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say to a compliment besides that. I mean, I'm not the sort to go, yeah, that's it, I'm awesome, unless I'm joking. So I don't know. I actually get, that's the one time I get bashful.
Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
it sounds a little familiar, but
Anyway, I'll catch you
wonderful
later.
stuff.
I need to stuff something in my face food wise.
Okay, and then yeah, I'll just bring this whole thing down, and everybody in the side chat, thank you for coming by. Seriously, I love this whole thing. Love that you appreciate what I'm putting out and the people I have with me. And okay, I guess for now I will then say thanks a lot, troops. See you on the other side.
Have fun.